I know Catch been through some shit. We about to elevate right now. About to scream Phoenix.
Mega lost, star seen only afar. The physical of my chosen, my craft is balls. We rap righteous with stabs and scars in the heightness. Rap live, graph artists and ghetto writers united. Starving with one table and no mic and still get it on bombing and flow nice. Spit vomit and throw dice, taking chances in life, trying to get by and stop all the time getting high. Got a clear mind and stay focused, avoid serpents and worship life. Be like merchants, street peasants with these lessons. Live building, pass away and keep stressing, thinking how we gonna master days with passion. That's why we rap this way. From Manhattan 115 to 135, we pigeons became Phoenix with open minds to open yours. Flow the raw, innovative Phoenix.
So when you see me shine light,
better scream Phoenix.
The God locked in a cell,
Scream Phoenix.
Moms can't post bail,
Scream Phoenix.
Hey Zeus on the crucifix,
Scream Phoenix.
Hey Zeus on the crucifix,
Scream Phoenix.
Hey Zeus on the crucifix. Yo, birds of the same feather flock together, congested on a majestic. No. My feathers and flames are one skin. Hallowed be thy name. In the beginning there was no sin. We in the 9th inning, and I'm God body trying to win, flying against the wind. But now my shell is weightless and fireproof. But the truth is I'm proof of living fire. I'm not made of organics, not even wires. Just felt my body light up and heard the choir. See to the common fowl, the phoenix is sire, the most high of all things to ever have wings. Existence is struggle, resistance is futile. Meanwhile, we now possess the power of 10 suns to transcend and elevate into one. Famine, the disease, and senseless dying is done. Pigeon bird got a breath left, heartbeat no more. Phoenix birds morph and we live off the G-force. Scream Phoenix, the God locked in a cell. Scream Phoenix,
hip-hop distribution.
Scream Phoenix, hey Zeus on a crucifix.
Scream Phoenix.
Scream Phoenix,
Scream Phoenix.
Scream Phoenix.
Got it.
135, what 115, what?
You gotta scream Phoenix.
Traffic systems, pigeons. Traffic, what pigeons? Yo.
For a reason. Before even the Club of Rome, they were looking for a reason to tip over and manage society with experts and commissars of all kinds, and it's obvious, so obvious. I've never seen that before either. But anyway, that's where I'm up at this time, really in the middle of the night, and at the moment it's about 3:18, I think, at the moment, AM, and I'll try to talk about something, because this whole week, literally, I haven't had time to look at much at all. It really is just shovel, 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 and out there trying to get snow and ice off this particular oddly shaped house with this it's a kind of a sunken basement in it as well, and then the upper floor. But the sunken basement slopes away from the house in the front, so it's just too high to get up there to get the darn stuff off. But again, that's what we live in now with the coming ice age, eh? They should have stuck with that back in the 60s when the same group, by the way, that were looking for a reason, before even the Club of Rome get in the act with it too, they were looking for a reason to take over and manage society with experts and commissars of all kinds and academia then and today has never been off the same agenda. They've always been on board with it all. Because that's the real idea of socialism is about. It's nothing to do with helping the public. If there's any help at all, it'd be a spin-off side effect in an accident probably. But in reality, it's about experts running your lives from birth to death, to do with consumption, sustainability, population reduction is a must-be for them by any and all means possible. And treating the people like children is very important because they can't ever tell you the truth. The few who do come out and tell you the truth about diet injections and injunctions, as Bertrand Russell said, really, the few, they're just ignored. They won't mention them. And although in academia they certainly do, they worship these characters like Julian Huxley and Russell and so on. It's quite fascinating to see how old the agenda really is, going way back into the 1800s, and how it all came together properly for the rulers at that time, where they had famines, not just in Ireland, they had famines, often manufactured famines, in fact, in the age of what they call laissez-faire capitalism. And it was a liberal type upper middle class that ruled it all. And Britain had its empire, and again, upper middle class helped to run it for the masters who owned it all. But the general population, the vast bulk of the public, were not living very well at all. Life was cheap, people died pretty young, and there was often starvation of all kinds happening because under laissez-faire, export across the world was vital by the agribusiness, and you got to understand that that's never changed. You've got about 5 agribusinesses running the planet's agricultural systems now. 5 companies, corporations. You have a population across the world, most of them actually, especially in the so-called civilized countries, which really mean totally dominated countries, where you depend on supermarket chains to deliver food to you. The ability to even grow the darn stuff yourself has been lost to most people. And that's what they call by civilization. Unless you understand what they're talking about, and all the books going way, way, way back for centuries, in fact, you'll never understand what's really happening today. Yes, you'll get the stories on the neocons back in power with their wars down in Venezuela, against Venezuela and so on, and against Iran, etc., and across the Middle East. You can get all of that information for sure. Look at the big picture, because the big picture has all the top countries' leaderships on board with a global sustainability agenda. And it goes way back, even before Karl Marx. Karl Marx put a lot into writing that had been previously discussed for generations before he came along, to do with centralization of power. It's the old thing. It goes back to even ancient empires, where you had a city-state that dominated what became a country, and in other nations and other city-states until they had a massive empire. But centralization of power was vital to them, and that way they could standardize the system of laws to manage everybody, the system of taxes especially to tax everybody, because everything to do with helping bring civilization is a mass plunder exercise where the wealth is going to all get shifted into the hands of the few around the dominant minority who rule. So it's never changed, and under communism it's exactly the same. So Marx had the centralization of power idea. He congratulated Lincoln for fighting the South and even further integrating the US states into a tighter union for centralization of power. Marx congratulated him with a telegram at the end of that war. You're living through an agenda, a big agenda. Those in academia are perfectly aware of their part in it. You're given the leaders to follow. It's very simple. It's always been that way, in fact, for over 100 years. And anybody who is not authorized for you to follow simply won't be heard of. You get no publicity at all. But they always give you the ones who come out against it, and all kinds of professions even. And people will follow because they don't suspect anything. If they start talking about the same kind of thoughts that you have, then you think they're genuine right off the bat. But if you look at what they belong to, like CFR and higher institutions, even getting asked on television, mainstream television, that's a clue you're being misled again. It truly is. And you're in an incredible war. It's total, actually. When total thought and all thought is under attack, unless it's authorized, you're under the same system, actually, that we used to complain about the Sovietized system, that used to be complained about by the British system. You have no idea how many people were imprisoned in a free society called England at that time, because their sympathies were not with Britain when it came to war with Germany, or with other countries for that matter. They were imprisoned for the duration of the war. George Orwell talks about it. Now, George Orwell is a mysterious man because he belonged to the upper middle class in an intergenerational family of workers for what they called the imperial system at that time, the British imperial system. And he also was trained in this strange progressive, they call it progressiveness, for instance, for those who don't quite understand it. Most folk can say all the time, but don't really understand what they mean. To be progressive, you must be progressing towards something that's already drafted out to be coherent and meaningful. But it's never told to the public what they mean by that. When the upper middle class are for it, you got to stop and think a minute here. Don't forget that Carl Quigley, who again used to be pulled out with different experts in the fields of history and so on, and Constitution, etc. for America, he used to be pulled out to try and go against what the system saw as upstarts that were going to try and expose the system. And so he and the experts would go there and try to decry them with their vast array of knowledge, etc., and expertise and qualifications, and to try and ridicule them. And he admitted when it came to one person that eventually knew his stuff, None Dare Call It Conspiracy, I think that was the book. He said we were stymied, we were pulled up to defame this guy. And this is what they do, they'll mock and defame you on behalf of the government. And they're all tied in with the CIA, all these people, by the way. Like Quigley, he worked for the State Department too. When you work for the State Department and you train the State Department people, you're part of this strange CIA system. But he did say too, he says he couldn't deny what this man had gathered. It was the factual evidence of a group. And Quigley said it, says there is and has been a group that's operated for over 60 years and given us our presidents in that time, every president. And he said it's secret and it's often mistaken for communism because our goals are very similar. That's so important. You can read these little things and just dismiss them. But when you're given little gems like that, take them and investigate them. Because he's telling you, this is a global system, remember. But not just a system to bring little happy families hands across the sea. It's not that at all. It's for an expertly run society. It's the same thing that Orwell hints at too. Because he was so fanatical about it, he did go over and fight with the left-wingers against the government of Spain, for instance. He definitely was on board with much of their ideologies, but he turned against them supposedly when the communist factions were using the socialists from all the countries like Britain and so on. Then they were killing them because communism really did believe there could be no other gods before them and no rivals for sure. But they would use them and then dispose of them, and he thought it might be targeted too. But you got to understand, this guy was trained at the top university, just like Lawrence of Arabia was taught the same thing, to go over in the Middle East and subvert that country with incredible propaganda techniques and so on, before he went into actual warfare. They were trained by the British establishment, this strange entity that most folk don't understand at all, especially folk who live in Britain. They really don't. They really, really don't. They think it's just the vestiges of a system that's antiquated and just developed by itself from the days of imperialism. Partially true, of course, but it didn't develop by itself. And the City of London never had any preference for the British peasant over other peasantry in the planet. So you have to understand, what on earth what did Orwell envisage for himself and others who were fighting in the Spanish War? And what did he hope to gain from World War II, for instance? In World War II, he helped to actually work out the propaganda. And he worked for the Department of Information. And actually, that's all these terms were into his book, Ministry of Love and all this kind of stuff, and the Department of Information. But he worked for it in the BBC, and he was responsible for making up the propaganda that was mainly broadcast initially to, well, his main job initially to India and the areas over there, for listeners there. But it was propaganda nonetheless, and other forms of propaganda, which he admitted, such as having a daily show to do with cooking and telling the people how to eat stuff that was much more nutritious for them. Listen to this. So nutritious, that was the propaganda. But it was stuff that would normally get thrown away and had very little nourishment value at all. The people in Britain were being starved, really, with rationing. From World War I, they had rationing. Into the Great Depression, it lasted in Britain from the end of World War I. It wasn't to do with just the crash that came later. And they were in depression all the way into World War II. And then they're still in rationing, even worse rationing. And that wasn't lifted until the 1950s. And even then, most folk couldn't afford it because everyone was taxed out of sight. So you got to understand that the people who ran Britain, forget the papers and propaganda and so on, that there's a much more secretive element to Britain, like the Royal Institute for International Affairs. And the owners of all the newspapers were members of this organization, this private club. They were the advisors with think tanks for all the nations that Britain ruled over. And of course, they eventually changed the foreign ones to Council on Foreign Relations as an example, or Asian Pacific League, etc. And they still draft up the unification of continents today, like the EU, the North American Free Trade Agreement. Before that was the Free Trade Association, FTA, and so on. It's the same group who does all this work for it. You don't elect them. They're working in universities. They have universities in Canada where they are working for global governance, and they'll have little things added like innovation, but they're really CFR funded and looked after, and that's where they train future leaders for different top positions and so on. And that's also where the smart city idea is being run from, how they can innovate it, make it sustainable, meaning get like out of cars for Agenda 21, for the agenda for the whole 21st century. All the different 2015, 2030, 2045. So it's all worked out that way up until the end of the century, and everything they must accomplish. It's all done with your tax money being used, never mentioned during election times, kept as quiet as possible from the general public, and you're simply run by diktats from government and even local government. We have decided blah, and that's it. Just the same way as the Soviet system did it. Again, going back to Quigley, they're often mistaken for communists. Same agenda. Sustainability, reduction of population, expertly run planning for the people into the compact cities, out of the rural areas, the elimination of freedom of thought, freedom of speech, freedom of action, and the massive training using the Aldous Huxley method, where they come to love their servitude, give them lots of drugs. That's why it's time for it now across the world. And give them lots of cheap entertainment to literally make them live in a la-la land. They already do. Look at this stuff. I keep using Australia as an example because it's a perfect example. Nothing against Australians. It's just fascinating to see how quickly they're moving it all there. And again, youngsters are almost, and if you remember the Matrix series, the movie series, there was so much in that series that people missed. You always get that. You're intentionally getting ideas thrown at you, and all the top stuff. Even today, you're getting programming all the time. Like I've said before, that movie that came out, it's only one movie with brain implants where everything is seen in like glasses. Without the glasses, you'll see it inside your optic nerves, basically. Your memory will be there. You'll see everybody coming up towards you, and you'll see imprints in your lens, and basically of who they are, what they are, and all this kind of stuff. All predictive programming. You've had it your whole life, predictive programming, but now it's really here. Starting with Star Trek, the old series, with their communicator that was a cell phone. So you get taught and trained without, and you adapt into it. And Aldous Huxley said it becomes a painless concentration camp, and you give it up with perfect servility, as Rockefeller said. Perfect servility. They'll come to us with perfect servility, and they don't even know that that's how you are now. But when I look at these massive festivals in Australia, and yeah, they have lots of young female models and so on, wearing pretty well nothing at times, but you're seeing the post-cultural war episodes, a few levels of it, all past, that worked perfectly well, step by step, from the grandmother, the mother, to the daughter, well, even to the great-granddaughter today, with the sexual revolution, until sex is just a form of casual recreation. And all the old stigmas have gone, because the state will deal with any, what they call, unfortunate problems for them. They're told just play and have a good time. They never mention diseases, of course. They try to play it low-key as much as possible. Even though now in the papers, they keep warning you occasionally, for those who look at different papers than the usual ones, from the different health industries. They constantly are warning about the incredible diseases that are coming in now, of rampant syphilis that almost was eradicated, but now it's rampant back with coming in from different countries. And so many types of it are pretty well resistant now to the antibiotics we have. That's only one disease. There's many of them, of course. But it's played down because they want you to have a good time, have fun, and whatever you do, don't go back to getting married and having families. That's the message, isn't it? And unfortunately, the targets that you'll see in the pictures from Australia and so on, and other countries too, naturally. Just in Australia, you've got better weather, so it goes a bit further, faster. But it's fascinating to see that they're living a virtual reality life, in fact, where they even dress up like the characters in mythological, almost cartoonish ways. But these people really are adults running around like that. And yeah, they're having fun, and yeah, you don't have any responsibility anymore over really the outcomes of things you're doing. But it ties in again with the meetings, well-documented meetings, world meetings on depopulation. Even the one, it was done during World War II, and it was the King of England that chaired it at the time. During the war, where people were being slaughtered all over the world, they were worried about too many people not dying off because of the war, and too many of people just breeding afterwards. They eventually called it the baby boomers, as though no one had children before or something. You understand the terminology is meant to make you think about things negatively. So they call them baby boomers. All the people had children before that World War II. That's how the folk who went and fought in World War II were alive to go and do it, you know. But you understand, you're constantly given terminology worked out by marketers who work with psychologists. And psychology, by the way, the real reason for behaviorism psychology was for total control of the public for this particular system I'm talking about. Hasn't changed either. And to make behavior modification easy for those who control the general public. But what I'm getting at here is most folk don't know any of this. Or if they do, they can't retain it for long. Because you're given stacks of data like never before. I've mentioned it before, even from the intelligence agencies that published some of their techniques years ago. And I've read them a few times over the years, the last over 20 years. They admit that they'll flood the people with data and trivia. And that will simply absorb their time. Get nowhere, because there's no danger in giving you data. The data doesn't have to be factual, true, or anything else, just data. It's mainly ooh and ah stuff, you know. Did you know that blah, blah, ooh, you know. That's how simple it is. Or lots of pictures of Siamese twins or something. I mean, this is what they give you for news. It's not news. It's deliberately put in there to distract you and to train you. And it's already worked. It's already worked. That you don't have to sit back and expect to be given any real news that is going to affect your life from the media. That's the reason for it. And data is just data. It doesn't mean anything to you. Sad but true. You understand that we are the world's problem, according to those who own us, and they're quite open about the fact that we're actually existing at their sufferance. And the way they talk to us is just as arrogantly as the elite that would talk to us back in the early 20th century, for instance. What gets me is and I look at all different aspects of everything. And when I talk about things, don't think I'm just condemning things. I'm not a person who stop anything. How could you? You understand, you can only help the occasional individual who is truly, truly sincere and who's truly wanting to know because for their own benefit, their own mental health, being awake through all of this is like the one-eyed man is king in the land of the blind. And it's true. You feel much better when you realize that as folk go crazy and you're not going crazy. It's because you understand that they want you to go crazy. And now you don't have to. You can't stop the mob, as they call it, either, because they will go whichever way they're directed. Look at the groups today that are so radicalized and how easy it was to radicalize them. When you're radicalized and you join groups, you don't think for yourself anymore. You are part of the problem. That's what the United Nations said. They hate the individual. They really hate the individual. They want you all to belong to the groups which they're partly responsible in organizing. But anyway, you've got to understand you're living in a very complicated, multi-layered system of control. And all the departments, as I've said before, in academia, to do with the mind, with psychology, neuroscience, behaviorism, are all part of controlling you. That's their purpose. The ultimate revolution that Aldous Huxley called it. Total control, to take away your will. You remember too that Aldous Huxley and his brother, Julian Huxley, considered themselves to be part of the scientific ruling elite. And they talked about this separately and how they belonged to a scientific family, intergenerational. A kind of revolutionary part of it too, because science is always breaking ground, technically revolutionary. But also how to do, their work was to do with controlling people. Julian Huxley worked with UNESCO to create to standardize a curriculum across the planet to ensure the same indoctrination and secular humanism across the board in all countries to make it easier to dominate and control everybody. Secular humanism is a religion, but they don't have the allegiance of the individual to a deity, which makes it far easier to control them. In secular humanism, they have lots of saints, but it's all left-wing saints of authorship, etc., that they quote and talk about, and so they can't think for themselves. The Huxleys were part of this a secret organization, very secretive, with different multi-layered factions of professionals working in their specialized areas for the same agenda. Charles Galton Darwin was one as well. And remember that particular Darwin worked in the Manhattan Project for the atomic bomb during World War II. But he wrote in the next million years that there's too many people, of the wrong people actually, and he said we'd have to, they were talking about ways to get them to stop breeding. And if they could just get all the women into workforce, make it very sexy to be in the workforce, for instance, have their money and so on, and buy cars and so on, and what you wanted, then they wouldn't have to have marriage, etc. If they didn't have marriage, then hopefully they wouldn't have children. That was what he was talking about. And even before him, you have H.G. Wells talking about this. They all belonged to the same organization and had their own specialized parts to play in making things happen on behalf of this organization. It still exists today. And it succeeded beyond its wildest dreams. Destroyed the culture for the people. It's destroyed what was called religion for the people. And I'm talking about religion where you could talk to a deity who is the ultimate master, as opposed to your government. Understand? Wells said it. He said they must destroy the religions in the Western countries especially in order to dominate the people, because the biggest problem they had was the rights that their religion had given each individual versus the fact of a government who wants to take away those rights, except for the ones it gives you. In fact, they don't give you rights, they give you privileges, which can be taken off you any time. This is an incredible war, really. The cultural revolutions, we had it before, you know, in the West, even quieter ones before the sexual revolution, but we had them before the communists in China had their cultural revolution. In fact, much of what was used in China had been experimented on already in Western countries, going back to 1920s even, when they tried cocaine and drugs and the miniskirt and booze cans and made it sexy and to get people being promiscuous, you understand? But they didn't have the pill at that time, or all the abortion facilities. So they put it on hold again until the 60s. You have no idea that these things are not coincidental. It's a really worked out plan. But anyway, let's look at, say, George Orwell. George Orwell put out his book 1984 he really thought about the idea in the late 30s when they were going to war with Germany, and he published it in 1948, or it was released then, I should say, and it was 1984, also titled that he wanted to call it The Last Man in Europe. I think it was The Last Man, because really the last thinking person who would be able to think that it was about that too, with a character in it of Winston. After that, it wouldn't matter. No one could break free from the mind control that we instilled in everybody perfectly through science. This already happened. But anyway, he did send a copy off to different people, and one was to one of the people he admired, and it was Aldous Huxley. And Aldous Huxley had been a tutor of his at Eton for a short period in 1917. I think it was 1917, where he taught French to Orwell. And in 1932, I think it was, maybe, Brave New World came out from Aldous Huxley that really showed you through science understanding of human nature, and using the sciences to exploit this human nature and manipulate it. They could eventually come to society where you had a controlled population. You were all born in test tubes, basically, and your genes were completely manipulated for the function that you had to serve society. So there you had the perfect, as a Marxist said. And the Marxists really are just part of the same group. The real Marxists, that is, who rule the world through finances and through academia and so on. An empire. This empire. Brave New Worlds would get just an amount of different people it would need for each category, each class or caste system, from the alpha plus all the way down. So distribution of labor was already worked out. You were born into your function, basically. And you couldn't do much about it because you were genetically, any genes that would cause individuality to crop up were eliminated before, from the ovum or the sperm. That was eventually put in and heavily manipulated until you were simply a repeat, a kind of clone of previous types that had gone before you in the same jobs or class. But he said that you could get the people to the exact number that you wanted for sustainability. This is 1930s, remember. You could make sure they were happy because even the traits that led to depressions would be removed from genetically. If it was genetic, it would be removed. You see, in this technique, and you would be what they wanted you to be. Very predictable. Even your likes would probably be already instilled into you. And your traits for being good at accounting or bookkeeping or whatever, with certain types that they had. And all the way down to the ones who had to do the manual work, the manual repetitive labor, boring labor, they would be made for their task, although some of them still went a bit crazy with the boredom. But that was the perfect system of Brave New World. And everyone could get to Soma, the drug, which would just make them instantly happy. It would relieve you of anxiety pretty quickly. And you had a good supply of it. You had good health too. They made sure of that until a certain age would crop up, and you'd suddenly age very quickly and die. And death was also encouraged as a wonderful thing. The children were brought around not to mourn death in this atheistic type society, although the state was worshipped because it gave you all your goodies and your free sex and big clubs and all that kind of thing to be happy with. Anyway, here is what George Orwell received after sending the book out to his mentor, in a sense, someone he admired, Huxley. This is what Huxley said after reading his book, or some of his book. He couldn't read all of it because Aldous Huxley had terrible eyesight, terrible problems with his eyes. He could only read in little bursts here and there because it hurt him to try to read things. But he said that it was 1949, after Orwell's book came out, and Aldous Huxley sent a letter back. So anyway, it says here that, "Dear Mr. Orwell, it's very kind of you to tell your publisher to send me a copy of your book. It arrived as I was in the midst of a piece of work that required much reading and consulting on references. And since poor sight makes it necessary for me to ration my reading, I had to wait a long time." He goes on to say, "Agreeing with all that the critics have written of it, I need not tell you yet once more how fine and how profoundly important the book is. May I speak instead of the thing with which the book deals, which is the ultimate revolution. This is so important, the ultimate revolution. The first hints of a philosophy of the ultimate revolution, the revolution which lies beyond politics." See, here you go, beyond politics. Because all the leaders of all parties, as Quigley said, belong to the same group and had for over 60 years in the 1960s. So you went into the 1800s. Anyway, beyond politics and economics, and which aims at total subversion of the individual psychology and physiology, are to be found in the Marquis de Sade. So awfully important, this stuff. Who regarded himself as the continuator, the consummator of Robespierre and Babeuf. The philosophy of the ruling minority in 1984, so he's comparing his book with 1984, is a sadism which has been carried to its logical conclusion by going beyond sex, understand this, and denying it, where in actual fact the policy of the boot on the face can go on indefinitely seems doubtful. Now, don't forget that Orwell was comparing Britain and the West at that time to the Soviet Union, where they had all this stuff in effect. They put into 1984. So Huxley goes on to basically contrast the differences in how he saw the world. And don't forget that Huxley belonged to the scientific elite who understood psychology and psychiatry and behaviorism and what we call neuroscience, and had all the studies of the ages at their fingertips. Always adding to it, right to the present, of course. But he says here, "My own belief is that the ruling oligarchy will find less arduous and wasteful ways of governing and of satisfying its lust for power." So there's no problem talking about its lust for power. Just forget all this democracy stuff, and we're here to help you. And for sustainability and saving the planet, I'm talking here, right? To save the planet, we've got to take all your rights away from you and manage you to save us all. That's just the present con, folks, to make it all happen. Anyway, it says lust for power, and these ways will resemble those which I described in Brave New World. I have had occasion recently to look into the history of animal magnetism and hypnotism, and I've been greatly struck by the way in which for 150 years the world has refused to take serious cognizance of the discoveries of Mesmer, Braid, Esdale, and the rest. Now, remember, this is written in the 1940s, and in the 50s and the 60s, they went way beyond anything with the Esalen Institute and different institutes are set up. Now you can make folk do anything you want them to do, even eat bugs on television, or lie in coffins of fecal matter, for that matter. And they'll fight each other to do it, to win something. Who would have thought, eh? So let's go back to what he's saying here. Partly because of the prevailing materialism and partly because of prevailing respectability, 19th century philosophers and men of science were not willing to investigate the odder facts of psychology for practical men such as politicians, soldiers and policemen to apply in the field of government. Thanks to the voluntary ignorance of our fathers, the advent of the ultimate revolution was delayed for 5 or 6 generations. The advent of the ultimate revolution was delayed for 5 or 6 generations. Another lucky accident was Freud's inability to hypnotize successfully and his consequent disparagement of hypnotism. This delayed the general application of hypnotism to psychiatry for at least 40 years. But now, listen, psychoanalysis being combined with hypnosis, and hypnosis has been made easy and indefinitely extendable through the use of barbiturates, you're talking about drugs now, which induce a hypnoid and suggestible state in even the most recalcitrant subjects. Now, that was heavily used through the 50s and 60s and 70s, even with MK Ultra, which didn't stop when they said it stopped either, and didn't start when they claimed it started. It was much earlier than that too. They were using all kinds of hallucinogenic drugs and so on. And it says, within the next generation, I believe that the world's rulers will discover that infant conditioning, and narco-hypnosis are more efficient as instruments of government than clubs and prisons, and that the lust for power can be just as completely satisfied by suggesting people into loving their servitude as by flogging and kicking them into obedience. In other words, I feel that the nightmare of 1984 is destined to modulate into the nightmare of a world having more resemblance to that which I imagined in Brave New World. The change was brought about as a result of a felt need, right, for increased efficiency. What do you think you're hearing today about, well, sustainability? It's going to be, and they talk about efficiency for farming. It's too important, they say, at the United Nations to be left to farmers. And of course the big corporations say the same thing, because they snap up all the farms, the small farms, and amalgamate into their big monstrosities. Your whole food supply is under a small handful, maybe even one cartel really. What a power that is. What a power, eh? And you have no idea. And you trust all. That's all that holds us together is trust, isn't it? Trusting systems you don't even understand, never mind even know exist for most folk. Anyway, Huxley goes on to say, meanwhile, of course, there may be a large-scale biological and atomic war, in which case we shall have nightmares of other and scarcely imaginable kinds. So he's given you, he tells you where it's going to go. In Brave New World, don't forget, you have all as much sex as you want. In fact, it's a cultural no-no to have the same partner over and over again. You're supposed to take different people every night of the week, basically. Don't forget when he wrote that one, 1932 or so. That was Brave New World. That was quite an idea, a thought, isn't it? The abolition of marriage. Again, same as the communists, isn't that coincidental? Again, getting back to Quigley, we're often mistaken for communists, he says. You're talking about the CFR, Royal Institute for International Affairs, same group. Council on Foreign Relations. So there you have it. I mean, nothing has happened before I was born, and since, and to come. Wasn't discussed by big think tanks, by the way. Don't forget that Huxley isn't just talking off the top of his head. He belonged to the top think tanks of the day. Very secretive, very powerful, with incredible data. I've been flooding in every day on behavioral studies and so on. And even what he said here, what I've said already here, how many of you actually think about why is he talking? He's talking about Mesmer and Braid and Esdale and the rest, but the fact is, we now have so many subliminals just banging away. It's quite, whether it's legal or not, it doesn't matter, you're getting them all the time. You find the same thing with Freud's nephew, Bernays, who said the same thing, that this power to control the mind is done all the time by the big marketing organizations that knew the psychology of the people, and they are the real power behind the throne, basically. Because they could tap into it, the unconscious desires and things that you have that you don't consciously think about very often, but they're always working on you, and they use them against you. So he puts on the line there that they could train the people in. Don't forget too, school is awfully important from very early school. Everything you read, even at school, your initial little children's stories, the authors all get paid to put the updated PC stuff into them. They get paid extra to make sure that's all in there. And the same with cartoons and movies and films. There's nothing out there that's not weaponized politically. Nothing. Not anymore. That's what we've got. Now he mentions too that Maquis de Sade. That Maquis de Sade was a sexual revolutionary. And all kinds of sadomasochism, and possibly even down to death, in fact, for that matter. And it was part 2 of revolution, you see, the end of this, what they called cultural inhibition, which is the only way society could survive. They didn't have welfare states back then, you know. They didn't give it to the public. Why should you pay for other people's children or for their decisions for being pregnant in the first place? I mean, these were all big things at one time. When they eventually started heavy taxation, in came abortion clinics and so on. You got to understand, we're managed like a herd of cattle, and those who manage us often refer to us as cattle, by the way, as well. We certainly get milked a lot, don't we? Everything we produce is taken from us. But anyway, that's a different story. What I'm saying is, it's fascinating to me. It really is, to live through the time when right is wrong. It's been taught everywhere now, suddenly. And up is down, left is right, etc., etc. All the opposites come to the fore as new normals, as they were planned to come out. But to read it years ago, even as a child, a lot of this stuff, and then you actually live through it and see it happening. It's mind-blowing, even though you know you're living through an agenda, and the script is written. To actually experience the big shake-ups that go on, it's almost exciting to live through it, because you're aware of it, where most folk are not aware of it, even as they're adapting into it all. That's fascinating too, just watching and studying. As I say, Aldous Huxley did give a lot out to the public in interviews, because he always started off his talks by saying his biggest fear for the future was overpopulation. What they'd never told directly to the public, some of them did, like H.G. Wells. Wells hated even the British working class people as being inferior. He was terrified of them, actually. They don't differentiate between the peasants, as in countries like Britain to Africa or to China or anywhere else. They're all the same. I could go on and on and on, even though, as I say, I all week I've been just basically shoveling snow and try to clear the roof. You swear this stuff expands, the snow, all the time. It's the strangest looking snow I've ever seen. But anyway, that's a different story again. So I'll put up some links too to show you Australia, because it ties in with what's happening in Australia, as I say, where they're at the next stage. They're almost post-sexual. It's beyond sexual revolution. It's almost it's now into sexual boredom, I think. They had books out in universities in the 80s, for instance, on what their own teachings in universities would do to society as the students went into the world and adopted into their own lives their teachings in the universities, and how sex would become boring, and then how men might get fed up having sex with women at all because it was just so commonplace, etc. And how they would introduce all kinds of self-eroticism, etc. And all kinds of, and I've seen it all happen. It's in the papers, and if people have floated through it without even thinking as to how it all happened. Isn't that's what astonishes me, really. It is so true, and I hate to say it. Bertrand Russell said, "There's nothing we cannot do with people, nothing," and that should be terrifying, because when you've lost your basic common sense and grounding into personal determination and survival, it's really over for the bulk of the populace. I hate to say that, but it is true, isn't it? I can still talk to those who are looking for answers, and it is so true. Lots of people across the world come in all the time. I'm glad to say there's a great response from people who have pulled themselves out of traps they've been in with all of this, and they've got off the drugs or whatever it is that they've turned to, because a lot of them who are a bit brighter will try and quieten their minds by any kind of drug, whether it's alcohol or all the terrible amount of drugs that are out there that really destroy you. And they're learning now they know the reasons for things, they can investigate, and it really does empower you when you know why. When you know why all the ridiculous characters are presented to you on television as new leaders of all kinds are there and what they really belong to, and listen to the things they're promoting, now you know where it all comes from. They're all fronts. All of them, folks. Well-paid fronts. It's really something to see. Politics is completely politicized in a different way than you think of being politics. Politics is a joke today, an absolute joke, as you all know. And they've managed to try and get everybody back into politics, and this wing and that wing and all the rest of it, to basically throw you off the track. They're all the same. The same agenda goes forward. I've watched it for years, since the free trade agreement for Canada, through the NAFTA agreement, into the new. This changed the name because we all knew what NAFTA was. It's the same group. And the presidents of the countries must sign it the next update of it every other year or so. And they have been since the first lots, way back. Regardless of the parties, who's in office at the moment, what front group is in, they all sign it and update it. None of them throw it out the window. And the intent was completely in your face in 2005. It was to literally amalgamate all of the Americas into a single system, just like Europe, with its own individual government. Now Australia, getting back to Australia as an example, it really is, I really feel sorry for Australians of how they've been a tremendous test bed for a lot of this. Here right now, you've got some of Australia's top universities are accused of selling permanent residency and access to jobs to foreign students. Every country in the West is doing the same thing. So claims made that some Australian universities are effectively selling their residency. And a Melbourne population expert said the university is opening shop fronts in the city, and they're offering bare minimum courses to qualify for skilled visas, he says. We live in an age of incredible greed, folks. And since there is no morality, anything to do with even cultural morality is being tossed out the window for greed. Everywhere you look, it's the same. And it'll get a lot worse, by the way. Australia's immigration levels soars to a record high in 2018, with 832,560 new arrivals calling the country home after the government promised cuts. Now, that's not all the migrants coming in. These are the ones, a lot of them that I guess it's probably they apply to come in. It reminds me of that old saying, it's a mythological saying of Nero fiddling while Rome burned. It's kind of like that, like party till you drop. If you're reading the papers as an alien looking at this strange place with these incredible big festivals they're having, and they're all having fun and so on. The music, wearing very, very little, and I'm sure there'll be lots of sex involved and things like that. You realise that most of those people will never have children, and they won't even want children. So they're being phased out, all of them, and they don't even know that either. But they'll have fun by painless concentration camp, like Aldous Huxley said. They'll have fun until they die, basically, but they won't leave anything behind. Never mind another generation. So it's all working very well, isn't it? Another thing, too, with Australia, they always go along with the Western society, especially America, to do with who the latest enemy is, and because it was back to Russia and China. I said in the 90s in a show that they'd bring back the Russian bear, the big bad bear, if they start losing too much money in the weapons industry. And here, lo and behold, here it goes. But also China, and with that Huawei debacle that they've created, you find this, what we lose when angry China stops buying from us. Australia will plunge into a recession. It's strange, I said that last week, that Australia is proudly declaring, with its virtue signaling, its leaders are, how they're banning a new coal mine from opening because they don't want it sold in the country. But what they don't mention is when they sell it all to China, is buying up, because in fact China's laughing at them for not having modern coal generators, which really are awfully good, because all that carbon that's just taken out of it through incredible filters now. But facts don't matter, right? You take away energy, make it expensive, people start dying, folks. Food is an energy. When you don't get what you need, the proper food, you start dying, you get sick, diseases come back. It's all part of Agenda 21 and sustainability. So China has said that with them getting this bad flack from Australia about Huawei going along with America and Canada, they're going to stop taking the coal from Australia, $22 billion a year. Now in Australia's all in panic, of course. And that'll be fixed very quickly, I'm sure. You see the grovelling that'll happen. This is China, which also spends $10 billion a year sending international students to Australia, has hinted at a trade war in retaliation for Huawei being banned from installing the next generation 5G mobile phone network and the national broadband network over spying fears. Well, how come it's okay to buy all our computers from China because they're all made there? But one company, it's such nonsense, isn't it? The West system that runs the West created modern China. We funded them into existence. We funded all our factories over there with free trade and the GATT Treaty. The people who rule us all funded it all. They own shares in all those factories in China. They've never complained until now that all your computers and so on are made there. But this Huawei one is the big, oh dear, dear, dear. Who's kidding who, folks? It's quite some, and yet there's other countries not there that make all your software and everything. And it's a country boasting openly that they do most of this, the anti-spy work and the security systems for computers. And the guy that is now working with them was the head of the NSA in America for a while. You got to laugh at the nonsense you're getting. And we've all to emulate China anyway. They're the model state we must all emulate. And because they control their population very, very well. And most Chinese are pretty happy people. A painless concentration camp to an extent. As long as you do what you're told and obey all the rules and don't say anything from your own thoughts, basically. They also have articles that welcome to 2019 where the phone is a weapon of deception, and a new study projects that nearly half of our calls this year will be spam. Well, who's trying to stop that? Nobody. I can see. And another thing I want to mention too, before I run out of time, I already run out of time, I've overdone it again as always, even though I didn't have anything ready really for this one, because of this last hectic few weeks actually. It's horrible talking about the press. Most folk don't know that he did the preface to his first book in 1984 that was taken off from subsequent books because it might offend folk, and he didn't want it removed, but he was talking about the press themselves and how the press go along with totalitarian regimes, including Britain. He said you didn't have to tell them what not to print. They would go along with it voluntarily. The so-called free press, right? But he also talked about censorship of speech and so on. And he says these people don't see that if you encourage totalitarian methods, he's talking about the far left and so on, which is no different than the fascist systems that they had. They're really one and the same thing. I don't care what you want to call them, it's the same thing. Run by the same people, actually, who own the whole system. To get change in the system, you need two sides. You create them, and you plan the conflict, and you plan the outcome. It says these people don't see that if you encourage totalitarian methods, the time may come when they will be used against you instead of for you. Make a habit of imprisoning fascists without trial, and perhaps the process won't stop at fascists. Soon after the suppressed daily worker, that we had in Britain at the time during World War II, had been reinstated. He says, I was lecturing at a working men's college in South London. The audience were working class and lower middle class intellectuals. The same sort of audience that one used to meet at the left book club branches. The lecture had touched on the freedom of the press, and at the end, to my astonishment, several questioners stood up and asked me, did I not think that the lifting of the ban on the daily worker was a great mistake? When I asked why, they said it was a paper of doubtful loyalty and not to be tolerated in time of war. So anyway, he ended up defending the daily worker, which even had libeled him at times. He knew to stand up for other people's points of view, or you're in a totalitarian system completely. The very thing you're supposedly standing up to fight against, you always become your enemy, unless you're conscious of what you're working through. People in a mob are never conscious, because they've lost their individual ability to think for themselves. Lenin, remember, talked about we shall win by slogans. Look at all the slogans across the board today. And the name-callings are just categories of slogans as well. And they're being encouraged for universities. They're the main, that's where I've said this since before, probably the communist attempts to take over the West years and years ago. They're all getting trained at universities, the top universities. Why would that be? Why would your Ivy League universities have departments where they teach communism and generations of future leaders to be communists? Unless it's the same group who are your so-called fascists and your capitalists at the top. And it is. In Article 2, cold outbreaks are not caused by global warming. And it talks about the so-called floods and animal migrations and disease outbreaks and so on, mass extinctions, all the terrible things that they warn you about daily through television, no doubt. According to climate activists, they're all caused by dangerous man-made, that's anthropogenic global warming. And this in turn is supposedly caused by rising carbon dioxide levels resulting from the use of fossil fuels. They might as well add alien invasions to this because it's all nonsense. Indeed, the climate scare industry, and it is a scare industry because that's the agenda, folks, to take all your rights off you. You'll voluntarily give them up and get managed. Indeed, the climate scare industry has achieved such a level of absurdity that on February the 1st, journalist Andrew Revkin reported in a National Geographic article that many stories in recent days highlighted studies concluding that global warming is boosting the odds of cold weather outbreaks. And then this article goes through it all and debunks all their stuff and so on. And those who've been following it for years know the cons that they've pulled, where they give you scary stories and most folk can never check it up, or you can't even find data to check it up and even ridicule it or believe it for that matter. Just keep churning out scary stories. But anyway, some of the experts too, like Dr. Ball, for instance, Dr. Tim Ball, an environmental consultant, former climatology professor at University of Winnipeg, Manitoba, said that Scavia's statement is utter rubbish. It's wrong in every aspect, from the basic assumptions to the interpretation. In fact, a gradient makes things move. It doesn't keep the cold where it is. So he debunks this latest thing too. It's just too easy but don't forget the real agenda and using all these excuses. Also, there's a Centre for International Governance Innovation. It's called CIGI. It was set up quite some time ago, actually. At University of Waterloo is a big player in this. It's in the former Seagram Museum in the uptown district of Waterloo, Ontario. It's now situated in the CIGI campus, which also houses the CIGI Auditorium and the Balsillie School of International Affairs. It's quite interesting because international governance and innovation, all the CFR stuff, Council on Foreign Relations stuff, is completely, it's actually really part of it, as far as I can tell. The top members of the CFR who've already done positions in CFR studies and so on, and international development research centres and so on, and to do with money and the IMF, etc., and the World Bank, people who worked in all these kind of things too. It's fascinating to see. This is one of the big agencies for the CFR, Institute for International Affairs, call it what you want. It has many names for the same organisation, but it's completely on board with the whole global agenda. And they actually use Waterloo, the area, for an area for their sustainability testing and programming and so on. And they've churned out somebody who's going to go across the country now, given a plum job, obviously, to do with municipalities for climate innovation programs and so on. Do you realise there was a municipality agreement there for Transition 2050 partner grant recipients? And it's providing grants to 10 organisations that will help participate municipalities in all sizes from all regions of Canada to reach significant carbon emission reduction targets. The same agenda. Eh? Get the cars off the road, etc., and decide how you're going to live, and how even building houses, where they're going to be, what kind of houses, yada, 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 yada. Did you vote for any of these things? No, you don't, and that's how you run, folks, by the so-called pretended experts. Waterloo City Councillor, where CIGI's headquarters is, bring climate change expertise across Canada. Okay? So somebody I've never heard of before. Award for Councillor Diane Freeman will be travelling across the country as part of the Municipalities for Climate Innovation Programme. Did you vote again for that? No, you didn't. And do you have a say in it? No, you don't. She says she'll be working with municipalities across the country to help them find efficiencies when addressing climate change. Now, talking about getting you out your cars and more plug-ins for electric cars, which are useless in this climate here. And they know that it's not meant to be practical. is to get rid of your gasoline engines. That's what it's for. Once they're gone, folks, you can moan all you want when your electric cars just run down, or you can't replace the batteries after 3 or 4 years, and you pay another 40, 50 grand for the batteries alone. Understand? Agenda 21, the main charter says that the elimination of private vehicles. What part of that don't you understand? And they also want to what you're going to eat and everything else too. There's a couple of articles about that. I think what's up with that's got that, and the fact that energy, to do with food energy, as I've said last week and before, even years before, I've mentioned that food is energy, and they're going to go after that, and they have been going after that for years and years and years, and bring you down off your protein diet into rare vegetable diets, and you'll start seeing yourself getting sicker again too. Never mind the fact that most of what you're eating now is so heavily contaminated with herbicides and pesticides for the genetically modified food. And Canadians, by the way, remember, were the unwitting subjects for the testing of the food, GM food, for 10 years before it was admitted that the government had signed a secret deal with the big chemical agency that owned it all at the time. You know who they are, to do it. They didn't even inform the public. We were informed through a big meeting in Britain at the time when Tony Blair was going to introduce the genetically modified or engineered crops into Britain, and there was big rallies against it in Britain, and that's when we found out from the NGOs over there that they were testing it out here in Canada for 10 years in secrecy across the whole country. But study our health. They know what it does. And everyone thinks they're free, eh? Anyway, it says, Iran-Contra and arms for hostages scandals. An old one, because Elliot Abrams is back in the saddle, and he was there in 1985, to do with the wars against the same countries, and, you know, Latin America, and against Iran as well. It's just the same bunch, and him and a bunch more like him, actually. Pacific Islanders reject socialist proposal to trade sovereignty for climate change safety. And back in Australia, where you can as much sex as you want, go around with hardly none at all, but and take drugs and so on. But it says, is your home contaminated with meth? Shock has revealed that 64% of houses are tested are riddled with ice residue, posing a serious health risk. It says they did a massive test in the Sydney area. 64% of the homes tested positive, and half of Australians have been bullied at school. This is interesting too, because the mental health industry are kind of kicking back at the same time, trying to get more power over everybody, especially children. I mean, how many children now are prescribed antipsychotic drugs, or they're given basically amphetamine as well, prescription for different ADHD, etc., and all these fake diagnoses. Because young guys have got lots of it, generally grow out of it, but now they're all getting drugs, so they'll sit in school and just drool, and they don't cause any problems for the teachers. Boys are different from girls in school. I know that because I've been a boy, you see, and I can remember what it was like, and they had to get rid of that energy and have multiple breaks, etc., to run around the place and burn it off. That's the difference. So the mental health industry is trying to get back, to get more folk on it. It says, half of Australians have been bullied at school or work. Major study finds amid warnings of currently facing a mental health crisis. It's interesting the particular group they're using to say they're getting bullied at school, because it was actually for a different purpose, as you all know what it is. But this is what they're trying to hit back with for putting so many people on drugs, so many students and so on. Because there's been so many bad raps recently about the amount of children taking antidepressant pills. Since Australia's mental health crisis deepens as the number of children taking antidepressant pills doubles in just 6 years to 100,000 after a spate of youth suicides. So children are killing themselves now. Do you wonder why, when all normal purposes, which it used to be, whether you liked it or not, just very straightforward, you know. You grew up, you did certain things, and you end up generally having a family, and you worked, and they gave you purpose. And so they've all been taken away, folks, by design, by some of the folk I've been mentioning tonight, and many others who work in the same organizations. And when you lose that, you become nihilistic. You can't see purpose anymore. The electronic systems that are meant to spy on everybody and really control everybody are just that. They're not your friends. Electricity is not your friends here. they can't supply you with a virtual real person, you, a friend of you. It won't happen. And to have real people in the world is becoming less and less probably able to actually find any who can be real friends with people anymore. They're all rather screwed up. It's not their fault. They are truly the victim. They're the targeted people. Everybody's been targeted for total change. And with nihilism of two, it's easier to bring in euthanasia, isn't it? They're already doing it in some countries since they introduced euthanasia. And they want to give them to people who are just fed up and depressed. So make it legal, you see. You see where it's all going and meant to go. And then life becomes cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, and eventually they'll sterilize even more folk openly, not just in the ways they've been doing it in everybody so far in the West. They want efficiency, as they said, as Huxley said. Children deliberately overdosing on antidepressants and antipsychotics. It's astonishing. It says people born after 1997 are most at risk of self-harm poisonings, according to a study published in the BMJ Open on Thursday. And girls are much more likely to overdose than males at a rate of 3 to 1. And it's mainly dispensed psychotropic medications. Quite some when children at these ages can find no natural excitement to be alive and purpose. And do you think that's just coincidental, do you? And also the mental health industry is trying to get more. Well, we've got to deal with this. You know? No, I think they help cause it along with the culture industry, folks. Don't you? And that's really what is happening, isn't it? The people really don't know what's been done to them. They think they're, again, in a painless concentration camp because they can play until they're geriatrics. In fact, just play, take drugs and play. Don't think about anything serious, which keeps you out of the picture of doing anything that may alter the future. Just play until you're into an old age home, and maybe they'll euthanize you if you become too expensive and as a burden on society. They've got people in Australia, professors, who come out and said all that kind of stuff. You see nothing wrong with it. In fact, one of them got lots of airtime naturally. They always give them airtime, you understand, because it's a system that wants it. And one professor said that. And it gets them all these little clicks on the internet. Oh, they're clicking. You can't do anything naturally now. You've got to be sensational about it. But he said that the older folk who are in their 60s could maybe just die off. I mean, voluntarily die off. And leave more jobs for the young folk. So what I'm saying isn't some conspiracy stuff. It's from their own lips. And there's also an article too we could put up. It's from Conspiracy Theory, where the CIA came out with the idea of in the 60s to try and ridicule folk who were asking questions about JFK at the time. And they said, we'll start labeling everybody a conspiracy theorist, even though conspiracy is one of the biggest crimes in the US. They all start off with conspiracy theories in court. They're called conspiracy theories. When they go after different people, they find out certain things. And someone did a survey recently in the US court system, and they found out there were 10,000 initial, on the first search that they did, current conspiracy theory investigations going on right now for court purposes. It's an accepted term, and always has been in the court system. But when they want to ridicule you, they call you a theorist. Mind you, counterintelligence, for the same one system that runs everything, gives you your almost clones. They'll come out there and say the same things you've been talking about because they grab it all, and then they bring in aliens and different kinds of weird, strange beings to try and lump people like myself into that group, even though I don't talk about the strange beings and so on that eat, drink blood and all that nonsense. But that's what it's called, counterintelligence. You bring out the leaders for that, heavily finance them. They're not out there by chance, folks. You have no idea of the scope of the war that you're born into. You have none at all. There's very little, if anything at all, in the system left to chance on behalf of those who rule, with all the financing in the world to do it all with, since your tax money pays for it. Anyway, I got to go out, I guess, and check my roof right now and see how it's doing, if it's still holding up all right. But as I say, I never prepared anything really. It's just that we're living through amazing times. And for those who are thinking about getting depressed, believe you me, if you get through life and you have 3 to 5 friends, maybe 1 or 2 good friends, think yourself lucky, because Plato said the same thing in his day, that's about the average of what you might get if you're lucky. You might only get one, you know? And you might only get one for a little while. Because people do change. And that's another talk too, mind you. The hardest thing for people who are really searching for what's happening is to find others of like mind. And even then you gotta be very, very careful, folks. Because there's a lot of frauds out there and con folk out there too. And lots of us say counterintelligence people who are put out there intentionally to waylay you on your search. So don't get depressed about things. There's lots in the world to be fascinated about, in the world itself, that hasn't been touched by those who rule it all. It truly is, that's where true life and humanity comes, is watching other things, even animals and so on. It's from that kind of thing. And from the occasional incredible decency that can break through from people in times of crisis. It's those things that you remember. But don't get depressed, because if you still have your thoughts, you can still keep them pretty well to yourself, and at least you'll understand why things are happening in this system, in this tyranny. And it's a tyranny, and we're going through a phase of it where it's becoming more of an open tyranny, where you're going to be punished for thinking what they claim is a wrong thing. They'll have other terms for it. They used to call it subversive thinking, and treasonous thinking, or revolutionary thinking. All the things which are not in vogue right now, which is opposition to tyranny. That's the crime in itself. Or refusing to be told what to call different things with new terms and all the rest of it. These are forms of tyranny, from the top down, not from the bottom, folks. Nothing happens from the grassroots unless it's authorized from the very top. Anyway, for myself, from a very cold, still cold Ontario, Canada, where it's possibly going to be an awful lot of, 8 hours of hailstones. That's a lot of hailstones and ice, then followed by rain, which will freeze on top of it. It's very slippy, no doubt. Good night. So I'll say good night from myself, Alan Watt from Ontario, Canada. May your God or your gods go with you.
No matter what we face, we must face the moment of truth, baby.
They say it's lonely at the top, and whatever you do, you always gotta watch motherfuckers around you. Nobody's invincible, no plan is foolproof. We all must meet our moment of truth. The same shiesty cats that you hang with and do your thing with could set you up and wet you up. Nigga, peep the language, it's universal. You play with fire, it may hurt you or burn you. Lessons are blessings you should learn through, let's face facts. Although MCs lace tracks, it doesn't mean behind the scenes there ain't no dirt to trace back. That goes for all of us, there ain't nobody to trust. It's like sabotage, it's got me ready to bust, but I can't jeopardize what I've done up to this point, so I'ma get more guys to help me run the whole joint. Cultivate, multiply, motivate, or else we'll die. You know I'll be the master of the who, what, where, and why. See, when you're shining, some chumps will wanna dull ya. Always selfish, jealous punks will wanna pull ya down, just like some shellfish in a bucket, cause they love it to see your ass squirm like a worm. But just as you'll receive what is coming to you, everybody else is gonna get this too. I ain't no saint, therefore I cannot dispute that everyone must meet their moment of truth. Actions have reactions, don't be quick to judge. You may not know the hardships people don't speak of. It's best to step back and observe with cool, for we all must meet our moment of truth. Sometimes you gotta dig deep. When problems come near, don't fear. Things get severe for everybody, everywhere. Why do bad things happen to good people? Seems that life is just a constant war between good and evil. The situation that I'm facing is mad amazing. To think such problems can arise from minor confrontations. Now I'm contemplating in my bedroom pacing. Dark clouds over my head, my heart's racing. Suicide? Nah, I'm not a foolish guy. Don't even feel like drinking or even getting high, cause all that's gonna do really is accelerate the anxieties that I wish I could alleviate. But wait, I've been through a whole lot of other shit before, so I ought to be able to withstand some more. But I'm sweating though, my eyes are turning red, and yo, I'm ready to lose my mind, but instead I use my mind. I put down the knife and take the bullets out my nine. My only crime was that I'm too damn kind, and now some scandalous motherfuckers wanna take what's mine, but they can't take the respect that I've earned in my lifetime. And you know they'll never stop the furious force of my rhymes. So like they say, every dog has its day, and like they say, God works in a mysterious way. So I pray, remembering the days of my youth, as I prepare to meet my moment of truth.
got one lyric pointed at your head for start. Another one is pointed at your weak ass heart. Now if I pull the trigger on these fully loaded lines, you're gonna wish I would've pulled a black 9. I Mac dimes, crack the spines of the fake gangsters. Yeah, the biting trifling niggas and the studio pranksters. Yo, looking at the situation plainly, will you remain G or will you be looked upon strangely? I reign as the articulator with the greater data, revolving on a task and much doper than my last jam. While others struggle to juggle tricky metaphors, I explore more to expose the core. A lot of MCs act stupid to me, and we have yet to see if they can match our longevity. But anyway, it's just another day, another fake jack I slay with my spectac rap display. Styles smooth but rugged, you can't push or shove it. You dig it and you dug it, cause like money you love it. The king of monotone, with my own throne, righteously violent prone. My words bring winds like cyclones, storming your hideout, blocking out your sunlight. Your image and your business were truly not done right. Throw up your hiala now, divine saviors. You got no hand skills, there's no security to save you. No pager, no celly, no drop top Benzie. I came to bring your phony hip hop to an end. My art of war will leave you sore from the abuse, cause you must meet your moment of truth. They say it's lonely at the top in whatever you do. You always gotta watch motherfuckers around you. No one is untouchable, no man is bulletproof. We all must meet our moment of truth.
Calm me down, roll me up, press me up against your lips. Let me fill your lungs, then breathe me out. California grown rap songs. You see the best comes out the west. Let me blur your lines, you won't regret it. I'll take you to the moon and back, backseat of my Cadillac. Slow down slow, then play it faster. Let me fill your lungs and breathe me out. Press me up again. I know what you fantasize about. Boy, I'll get you so high. Let me fill your lungs and breathe me out. Press me up again. I know what you I know what you fantasize about. Tonight, 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 tonight.
Fake faces hiding everywhere. Made up makeup, made up stares to hide their stolen air. Don't look too close, don't you dare. Stupid seems to be in the air, everywhere. Blameless, I'll shatter through the glare. Make it, take it, they won't share. I can't fake it, I'll just make it on my own. I can't blame them, I'll just name them on my throne. I can't fake it, I'll just make it on my own. I can't blame them, I've just got to get to my throne. I am the latest colors, I sing the newest songs. I read all the lyrics so I can sing along. I am the latest colors, I stand above my throne, waiting for an invite to never come along. I am the latest colors, I sing the newest songs. I read all the lyrics so I can sing along. I am the latest colors, I hate the newest songs. I can stand the lyrics, I never sing along. I'll never sing along. I'll never sing along. I'll never sing along. Trade places, stagger truth or dare. Only ask it if you care. Trace back to all the millionaires. Snake oil traders, no one shares. they won't share. I can't fake it, I'll just make it on my own. I can't blame them, I'll just name them on the throne. I can't fake it, I'll just make it on my own. I can't blame them, I've just got to get to my throne. I am the latest colors, I sing the newest songs. I read all the lyrics so I can sing along. I am the latest colors, I hate the newest songs. I can stand the lyrics, I never sing along. I'll 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 never sing along. Songs. I read all the lyrics so I can sing along. I am the latest colors, I stand above my throne, waiting for an invite to never come along. I am the latest colors, I sing the newest songs. I read all the lyrics so I can sing along. I am the latest colors, I hate the newest songs. I can stand the lyrics, I never sing along. I'll never sing along. I can't fake it, I'll just make it on my own. I'll never sing along. I can't blame them, I'll just blame them on my throne. Sing along. I can't fake it, I'll just make it on my own. I'll never sing along. I can't blame them, I've just got to get to my throne, get to my throne. I believe in the things you do. I don't wanna believe you believe that too. All the noise in my ear that I hear about you. Pray it can't, pray it don't, pray it won't come true. I know you were thinking bad things when you kissed me on your tongue. Told me every lie. Sad song, warm occasion. Last week, sweat no matter what, I'll be stretching out the time. Oh, I know that boy's gonna rip me off, 'cause he ain't that nice, he won't do right, he'll leave a nasty cut. Oh, I cry until I just dissolve. Come on, watch my heart turn to pop like paper. Paper love. Paper love.
till my nose bleed. I blacked out in the black car. I was trying to feel like a rock star, but I can't just do one now. No, I've been way too numb now. I'm living on the run now. Oh, I gotta get out of this town somehow. Cause the bad's been slowly getting worse in this fast lane. Living it's a curse, better tell me, what's your life worth? I think it's time for a change. Cause the bad's been slowly getting worse in this fast lane. Living it's a curse, better tell me, what's your life worth? I think it's time for a change. Cause the drugs don't work anymore, anymore, anymore. No, the drugs don't work anymore, anymore, anymore. No, the drugs don't work. I couldn't find the thrill again. I couldn't seem to kill the pain. I was living in the moment, searching for a little serotonin. But this shit ain't so fun now. I can't deal with the come down. I've been living on the run now. Oh, I gotta get out of this town somehow. Cause the bad's been slowly getting worse in this fast lane. Living it's a curse, better tell me, what's your life worth? I think it's time for a change. Cause the bad's been slowly getting worse in this fast lane. Living it's a curse, better tell me, what's your life worth? I think it's time for a change. Cause the drugs don't work anymore, anymore, anymore. No, the drugs don't work anymore, anymore, anymore. No, the drugs don't work anymore, anymore, anymore. No, the drugs don't work anymore, anymore.
Celebrating every single person who's claimed to cross the Antarctic has beeline gone in and come back out. Every single one. Go check it out. Not one person has traversed dead reckoning straight across. Why is that, Bob? Why is that? Anomalies, but just can't really, provide anything tangible as to why that is. And by himself, crossed all the way across Antarctica. He went in and came back out. The guy who was I can't remember. He held the record for that race for circumnavigating the Earth, but he never held himself full. He turned and beeline back.
Right.
Do you not see what's going on here, Rob? You just dance, man.
Bad information abides. Fuck. Reality. Get back to reality. Fucking go outside.
Your brightness starts to dim. Sin after sin, you won't feel no more, and you lost your trust again. I know you wish you could let me know that to force the song. When I get lonely, take it down and say you hold me close, but never show me. Someone told me you can only disguise and be pretend. Tears manifest sometimes, my only friend. You never see them again. They hide behind the mask, thinking you're winning with all of your grinning, but after the last laugh, I can't lie to you and tell you I can't get you out my head. But I'm loving watching you think you're controlling me instead. Singing there's another side that you don't know, you don't know. I can't wait to get you all alone, all alone. Once I'm in there ain't no letting go, letting go. Watch me turn your mind into my own. Bang, bang games until you lose control. Bang, bang games until you lose control.
Look around, man. Polaris, by the way, Polaris is my bitch. That was the one that got me, man. I waited fucking minute. Why isn't this thing
Are you chatters still fucking getting Fred all fired up?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. He put a straw man in the chat. It must be because of ring around the pancake. None of us think.
Damn chatters, put it. Fucking, I know what they're doing. They're being.
Oh, they're getting hammered by the chat is hammering them too. So they're getting it from both sides.
Yeah, they literally have hollow man with just ideas that don't have any tangibility. So it's funny.
It's not in reality, man. Reality.
Antarctica
Where's
again?
the parallax? Where's the fucking parallax? Where's the parallax? Where
miles is Antarctica?
He has no argument. So this isn't about what you know and witness. It's about conspiracy theories. Then see how he.
Hey, Rob, check out the real picture of Antarctica. Put that in your
I know what I witnessed, Rob. Polaris don't move. It ain't moving.
Google
search anywhere. I'm 55
real
years old. Motherfucker ain't moved once.
But dude, science will tell you that. Oh, before recorded history, there was a
27,000 years ago. It was over there.
No, there's a different North Pole. They say, or north and south.
Dude, when you Google Antarctica, a picture of Antarctica from space, it's the most hilarious thing you'll ever see, and they push it off as that's the truth. And if that doesn't throw red flags at you, I don't know what can't. What's not gonna wake you up. 'Cause that shit's hilarious.
There's so many red flags.
Picture of Antarctica from space. It's right.
I have tangibility, Rob. I tracked a cargo ship 30 kilometers across the ocean. Impossible on your fucking boat. I visually tracked it. I know it was 30 kilometers because I had a boat tracking app. They're free. You can download them and go do this test yourself. But I guess, if you don't live near the ocean, maybe it's hard for you, or you don't like to go into the real world and do tests yourself, so you're just gonna take other people's word for it. That's an appeal to consensus or an appeal to authority. So you have fun with that, Rob. You have not made any point yet.
He thinks Polaris.
And there you go. Relativity. The excuse that is intangible once again.
Fuck. Hold on. 430 fucking light years away. Each light year is 6 trillion miles. What the fuck?
treasure amounts of fast, a masterpiece. Just let me move on, just let me move on, come on. It's not like I'm wrong, shedding a tear with the pain. A month or a day, the game I can't play. Typical time to move on, you know I'm not wrong. Hey, all but not the me that you thought, the one who you sought. I'm not the kind of kid to point to a map who runs at a snap. I'm trapped, yes sir, no sir, not for me. I'd rather spend it all so you can see what freedom's really worth to me. 1, 2, 3, 7.
Black sheep, living in a daydream, in too deep, in too deep. I'ma give you everything, I'ma give you everything, forever everything. You want me go no sleep, gonna keep it all G, on the same team, same damn team. Tell my body 6 feet, I'ma give you everything, forever everything. I'm that Al Capone Cadillac, drive like a maniac, killer like Zodiac. Shop to the cardiac, till the end, got your back, even when you're gonna crash. I'm still gonna ride with you, ride with you, ride with you. You know I'd die for you, die for you, die for you. Put it all on the line for you, just to keep it bulletproof. Stay with me tonight, I'll be your alibi. I'll be your alibi. Ready for the backlash, Sarah Connor combat. I'll be back, I'll be back. I'ma give you all I have, I'ma give you all I have, forever all I have. Keep you in my habitat, dedication to the max, never change that, won't change that. I'ma give you all I have, I'ma give you all I have, forever all I have. Yeah, we're different from the masses, we go back Jurassic, baby we a classic. Yeah, yeah, yeah. With you to the casket, mellow the dramatic, even through the madness. Yeah, I'm still gonna ride with you, ride with you, ride with you. You know I'd die for you, die for you, die for you. Put it all on the line for you, just to keep it bulletproof. Stay with me tonight, I'll be your alibi. I'll be your alibi. I'm still gonna ride with you, ride with you, ride with you. You know I'd die for you, die for you, die for you. Put it all on the line for you, just to keep you bulletproof. Stay with me tonight, I'll be your alibi.
You're never gonna make it, you're not good enough. There's a million other people with the same stuff. You really think you're different? Man, you must be kidding. Think you're gonna hit it, but you just don't get it. It's impossible, it's not probable, you're irresponsible. Too many obstacles, you gotta stop it, yo. You gotta take it slow, you can't be a pro, don't waste your time no more. Who the fuck are you to tell me what to do? I don't give a damn if you say you disapprove. I'm gonna make my move, I'm gonna make it soon. And I'll do it cause it's what I wanna fucking do. Cause all these opinions and all these positions, they come in millions, they blocking your vision. But no, you can't listen, that shit is all fiction. Cause you hold the power as long as you're dreaming.
There's no way that you make it. And maybe you can fake it, but you're never gonna make it. Aren't you just gonna take that? Make them take it all back. Don't tell me you believe that. Aren't you just gonna take that? Or will you fucking fight back? Fight back. You ain't gonna make it, you ain't never ever gonna break it. You can never beat them and they're better than you face it. Thinking that they give a damn, you're not, think a straight kid. No, they don't give a damn, you got what I'm saying? I'm not fucking playing, I'll give it to you straight, man. There's too many others and you're not that great, man. Stop what you're saying, stop what you're making. Everybody here knows that you just faking. Nah, I don't wanna hear it anymore, I don't wanna hear it anymore. All these fucking thoughts, they are not what I need anymore. I'm about to shut the motherfucking door on all you poor ass haters with your heads in the clouds, talking out loud so proud. You better shut your goddamn mouth before I do more speak out. It's about to head south. You're never gonna make it. There's no way that you make it. And maybe you can fake it, but you're never gonna make it. Aren't you just gonna take that? Make them take it all back. Don't tell me you believe that. Aren't you just gonna take that? Or will you fucking fight back? Fight back.
There's a drum line in my heartbeat, I know exactly what it's from. The turning off the street lamps, they say the day is almost done. There's a ringing in my ears now, I remember how it was. The feeling we had last night, and it won't stop now because everybody says, hey, no, we don't wanna see this day go. If I ever had my say, so we can make this go all night, night, night. If I ever said go home, everybody here would say hell no. All we gotta do is just let go. We can make it through the night. Cause if the party is dead, we can bring it back to life. Yeah, we can make it through the night. If you listen to the words that I say. Cause if the party is dead, all we need is candlelight and a little bit of dynamite. got a song stuck in my head. I know exactly why it's there. There's noise outside my bedroom, and I don't even care. If I ever said go home, everybody here would say hell no. All we gotta do is just let go. We can make it through the night. Sleep inside of my bed, and I'm sorry if good night is something I've ever said. Cause if the party is dead, we can bring it back to life. Yeah, we can make it through the night. If you listen to the words that I said. Cause if the party is dead, all we need is candlelight and a little bit of dynamite. Everybody will get out of my way.
has, but literally providing no evidence. I understand perfectly. You tout pseudoscience. All you assholes have pseudoscience, nothing to back it up. Now, prove me wrong. One unfalsifiable claim. Give me something. I've been waiting 4 years for something that's just like, okay, it's a globe. I'm done.
There's no evidence of this. The scientists can't prove it. We can't see this real. And we have the technology that should show us these things. Look, they're going to the moon as we speak. Israel has sent a rocket up, and they put a camera on that robot. Why not?
It would shut everybody up, right, Jen? It would shut everybody up. And then all of us pesky flat earthers would go away if you just fucking do what's right. Take advantage of your power. You got a rocket you're going to send up the fucking quote-unquote space. You better have a camera on that motherfucker. You better turn around and take a picture. You know what? That's what it takes nowadays. If things are not looking right,
Arctic. All this dumb shit can end right now. Planes have crossed Antarctica. Done.
Yeah.
I don't need to debate anymore. I'm done. I really am done. Fly some people in a plane, dead reckoning straight across. I want one shoreline to the opposite shoreline. Do it. Do it. End the conversation because it's getting really stale. I'd like to move on to the real fucking other issues that are really plaguing humanity, like the psychological operation going on, or the fucking program.
I kind of want to get, if I may, Brad, kind of change it up a little bit. I want to get everybody's kind of take on this yellow vest slash these fake, quote-unquote fake news events that have been popping up. And I kind of want to know if anybody else is seeing what I'm seeing as far as like Jesse Smollett, some other people that are clearly getting busted. It's like, it seems like a rollout to me. I don't know. I know that a lot of people don't give a shit about what's happening in the media, and I hate all that shit. The fact is that it's happening, okay? So we can't turn our heads on everything and be like, oh, I'm not going to look at that or watch that shit. I disagree with that. If we did that, we'd be doing ourselves a disservice because everything is on the table, so to speak. So if there's something you can learn, you shouldn't be closed-minded to not look at things, especially as a flat earther. So
it's the modern male ego, Jared. It doesn't want to admit that it could have been fooled. People don't want to think that they could have been lied to and fooled.
Well, that's the thing. Like, the one thing we can look that's tangible, that we can look at, that we can study, is that what they've done to us before, right? And what they're pushing as far as what truth needs to be truth, what's false needs to be false. A total control mechanism that they have stranglehold upon us, you know? And I'm just wondering if anybody else is noticing these rollouts, so to speak, especially when whatever media has given us, we got to take
Yeah,
really
but
good look.
Jared, I kind of question whether an awakening or people kind of, you know, recognizing the bullshit could be mistaken for what you're saying. Does that make sense?
Well, what I'm wondering is are we having an effect on the society in general when it comes down to believing this, you know, these newer hoax events, so to speak?
Dude,
like, I'm wondering if we're starting to make.
After that event last night, man, I think people are taking another look at these fucking these false flags, I call them, right? These events that happen after that guy, set up his own fucking hate crime. I'm forgetting his name right now. You know the
that's what
dude.
I'm talking about. Jesse Smollett. Jesse Smollett. He's a fucking douche.
Gotta wake people up, man. You gotta realize crisis actors are a fucking thing, man. It's real. These people are committing like the worst atrocities you can imagine just to push a certain narrative. get rid of guns. You know, we need to disarm the people. We need to go to war with this nation. We need to. It's all a fucking bullshit lie.
Go back and watch that Good Morning America interview he does. It's so fucking funny because now we know it's just full of shit. That gives you an idea of what a liar looks like right there.
And what was his name again, Garrett?
Jesse Smollett, Jess.
And he was from he's from Yellow First Movement.
No. He's from this cast of Empire, which is a show on Fox, and he has showed up in Hillary Clinton promotion videos. And he's also in this bill trying to get passed about no lynching or whatever. I don't know, something to do with lynching. And it's just such a blatant attempt, or so they want us to believe, that the use of media to push agendas is a thought out thing, that it can't happen, that people have apparently done it. So that brings, how many times has it been done successfully is what I wonder.
They always try to hijack movements and roll out their plan or their narrative. And that's with the Yellow Vest. The only thing what I have with the Yellow Vest, maybe I'm completely way off, but that's what I first thing when I saw the Yellow Vests walking around. If you wear a yellow vest, you're a very easy target. That's what I wanna. That's my opinion. And of course, yeah, you can take it off, but they are wearing it, so it makes it very handy for the people in charge. If they want to take out the yellow vests, especially when it's a little bit later at night, you're very visible with your yellow vest. And I know it's like a dress code for the opposition at the moment, but still, is that the best dress code to have? It's a very visible thing that's very easily seen by snipers or whatever.
I think it's okay when you're
Of course, but is that the best? But it's yeah, but still.
If you're under a military kind of operation, then obviously it's the wrong color. But
Well,
in this case,
it can become military.
if it becomes military, I'm sure they would adopt a different fashion. The only reason it's going to come military is if the government shoots. But the revolutionaries are not shooting anything. They're not carrying.
No. I understand.
Your Antarctic flight fucking citation, Rob, proves fuck all. Fuck all. He found something on it from some. He thinks because he found a website, some website that's claiming to fly people into Antarctica, that's proof that people have flown over Antarctica. It's so funny. Do you know anybody that's been on this flight and they've gone dead reckoned straight across? Or are they V-lining like every single trip I've seen take down there?
It's not even in the Guinness Book of Records yet. Silly ass.
Even the Guinness Book of World Record, the guy who holds the record for circumnavigating the Earth, didn't go all the way around. He V-lined when he got to the south, turned back around.
Yeah.
And came out the same side, the same shoreline he went in on. That's not navigation, you fucking idiots.
Scum. Liars.
I can buy a ticket, sure. Yeah, I bet I can buy a ticket. I would love to buy a ticket and fly straight across the South Pole. I'd be all for it, man. I know many of us would get on that plane and go. And when they provided last year, a fake fucking website provided, said they're taking a plane trip around the world. Then these Globies went to their fucking subscribers and started Patreons or whatever, started raising money to send these Globies on a fucking trip. And then what happened? The trip was fake, and those Globie YouTubers kept the money. Thousands of dollars.
Stole the money, look, thieves.
Yeah, they're thieves. They scammed their own fucking kind, man. Their own people. It's so funny, right? What are you going to do? You know, if you don't see it, then you don't.
You're never gonna make it, you're not good enough. There's a million other people with the same stuff. You really think you're different? Man, you must be kidding. Think you're gonna hit it, but you just don't get it. It's impossible, it's not probable, you're irresponsible. Too many obstacles, you gotta stop it, yo, you gotta take.
And my life's changed.
And I just wanted to let you know.
Jay is with me. Jay would be religious too if I was in prison. You know, I'll be praying to get out of there.
See it.
You know what I think? What are they going to do when they look back at themselves in history? When they look back at their actions? And they're these heliocentric believers. What are they going to feel? What are they going to feel? Many a documentary is going to be done on how they.
Well, they just believed it like we did.
Hey, Merle.
Well, some of these people have believed it for 4 years now.
Yeah, but the more you actually talk to them, though, on the level, right? Some of them genuinely.
You did your rationalized thinking and coming to the conclusion that the Earth could be flat, for example, right? Through your own thinking, your own cognitive thinking. You did it yourself. You did some research, right? And you came within 6 months. You came on board. There's people there 4 years still fighting. 4 years. Come on. 4 years of bloody arguing. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, but they think we're fruitcakes. They think we're the wrong ones.
That's what I'm saying. So they need to look at themselves.
All right, so I want to make a point, man, about us getting, called idiots or stupid or all the shit in the movies. They've done hit piece after hit piece on our asses, calling us we're science deniers and all this shit. And that's why we got to have a little bit of a pissed off attitude towards these motherfuckers, because they've been coming at us hardcore. So we need to come back at them a little hardcore.
Yeah, I'm afraid so.
I'm afraid so.
We've got to stick the book.
I just realized it, Dread, like a couple of days ago. Like, we gotta fucking get up in their shit, man. Fuck them.
True, man.
No, Jibby's got a bad attitude.
No, Jibby. Now we're finally all on your page, Jibby. Shit, man.
Guys,
we're a little slow to the party. We're a little slow to the party.
We're finally.
Yeah, if dude's feeling it, that says a lot, because he is chill.
Right. But I did a little research on some, you gotta fucking pound their heads onto the fucking cement occasionally. Fuck it. We got nothing to lose at this point. Might as well.
With people under a witchcraft spell who are policing themselves, slaves policing themselves, trying to be like, don't leave the cage, don't open the cage. They're like witchcraft with Stockholm Syndrome.
Yep, and it's amazing that they defend a system that royally fucks them in the ass every day. I love it. It's hilarious, right?
And you learn to like your captors. You learn to love your captors. You learn to love your abuse.
Yep. It's so obviously Stockholm Syndrome, I can't believe they've seen it. Well, of course, a victim of Stockholm is not going to see it.
It's a BDSM club.
Well, Yibby, give us a couple of years and we'll be talking about VR more.
You already started to talk about it. It was quicker than I thought, actually.
We're getting there.
I thought I'd have to mention it, and then 2 years would have to go by, and no.
I'm still showing cognitive dissonance for that. I'm trying to kind of wrap my head around it, but I'm still having a bit of denial that this reality is completely fake. I don't know if I can get
Well,
that.
it's not so much that it's fake. It's not the eternal reality.
Okay.
It's just, this is a temporary
So like a
experience reality.
Is it a representation of what really is, or
I
or is
don't
it
think so. No.
A
Like,
version. More of a version, Joe.
if we are not these things in the eternal reality, these bodies, we're something else. The only way we can experience this reality is in these bodies, in this experience.
Oh, so our bodies are a vessel to be in this reality.
Yeah, like, what's
Pretty
the
much,
soul?
yeah.
What is a soul?
Yeah.
Who are you? Are you your body? No.
No.
If you lose a hand, do you go around the rest of your life feeling like, 90% of yourself?
No.
No, you're still 100% you. You just lost a hand. You know what I'm saying? It's like you lost your driver's side mirror. The car still runs. It's still a car. When we lose a body part, we don't lose a part of ourselves. We lost a part of the vehicle.
Yeah.
Who are we? What's the soul?
Fuck if I know.
Sometimes
I think of essence is what I think of when I hear that.
And sometimes if we lose something along the way, our other senses actually develop and become more sharp, even sharper.
Compensation, yeah.
Well, I think too, Jared said essence. You could say presence in a way, because, and I think that's how some people go Jesus and stuff, because are you keeping yourself alive? I don't think I am. I'm not I'm at the wheel, I'm at the helm, but there's something else making this all happen. It's like a power, an energy, something is there, not just me.
Yep. There's a collective consciousness, as well as, like, I guess you could call it like a father consciousness or a parental consciousness.
Yeah.
That really
Wiser
pisses me off.
wisdom.
That really pisses me off because it makes me think of the Borg, and I don't want to be the Borg.
Well, it is
At all.
a little Borgy, but it's not Borgy so much as you got to think of the Borg as neutral. You can take the Borg, you can make them all work like the Borg, or you can make the Borg work collectively for happiness and peace. And it's been usurped, it's been hijacked. So we are very Borg negative instead of Borg positive.
Right.
There is a collective consciousness. There is a grid, a force, a thing you can tap into, an Akashic record. I don't know what you want to call it. There's all kinds of names for these things throughout the years. Try to describe it, where they got the books locked up with all the answers, and we're just trying to figure it out in the dark.
And we're supposed to figure it all out, have a new map and model and everything ready to go in a few years.
I think if we had all the answers, they lose their leverage and power over us. Now they got to work for a living.
Yeah.
They don't want to work for a living. They want to live off our back sweat.
Yeah. It's all about energy. I've always thought that. And taking ours.
David Icke, there's something that he said that just always sticks out for me. And when he's talking about, like, the dark side, the group in charge, he's like, basically, whatever they are, if it's reptilians or whatever the hell they are, they basically gave us their mind. It's kind of like, how do you affect all the fish in the ocean? You affect the ocean. They affected the ocean. They affected the energy stream to make us they're making us all think and feel like them. It's kind of like humans are peaceful people that don't want to hurt or kill anybody. Anybody who's acting like that have adopted that mindset, have adopted that everything. You've taken in the energy, you've stepped into it and accepted it, and now you're a Decepticon. Your eyes turned red, you know. And it's out there, and you can feel it inside of all of us. We feel that dark side we could tap into and go evil. We don't get a satisfaction out of it. That's why we're Autobots here. We don't enjoy being evil to somebody. We don't feed off that energy.
I do enjoy shaming bigots, though. That shit is fun.
We get that kind of enjoyment like an Autobot feels enjoyment out of beating the shit out of a Decepticon doing something bad. That's not an enjoyment like, yes, I'm more powerful than you. It's like, I've defeated evil.
Oh,
that's an enjoyment we get. It's different. It's a little ego in there, but we don't get off on hurting others. Like, that's not our food. At least the people I can see right here.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I'm no, like, friend of P-Mars, but do you think he deserves a wrench, maybe, Dave? Just, I don't know if he's been a dickhead to you, but I've been watching him join us, and he hasn't been an asshole. I'm wondering if we should kind of give him some protection, if he's going to be... What do you think, Dave? I mean, I know he's an asshole sometimes, but...
That's your guys' call, man.
I don't know. No, it's your channel. It's your channel.
I mean, yeah, I have no...
I'll see if I can do it. What is it?
I can give him a wrench, no problem.
That's what I mean. Just give him a wrench so he doesn't have to be worried about being whacked.
All right.
Why do you care about him?
I can always take it away, man.
Yeah.
I can always take it away.
He's not coming in hot. That's what I like about P-Mars here. He's not coming in hot.
All right.
He is a truther in his own way.
Dude
it's just I kind of call him a purple pillar because he just doesn't see the bigger picture. But he definitely.
The Lord give us and the Lord taketh away.
He sees the fucking engineering program.
What was your one the other day, Jim? Jim. I'm gonna start calling you Jim. Mary had a little lamb. What were you saying?
No, it's just my way of doing a testing. When we were in the military, we used to do that, testing the videos. We used to recite nursery rhymes. That's back in the days.
Cool.
Testing, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Mary had a little lamb. Her fleece was white as snow. That's all, just testing the radio.
Excellent. Have you ever done radio?
I did it for a while, yeah.
Yeah.
Just doing, exercises. That's all. And then I was a courier for a short time. That's why I tend to shout a lot, because the system was always crap. You always had to shout to get your voice in.
Yeah.
It's just a habit. You see what I mean, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
and
you
you're
can.
talking about shouting in the middle of traffic in London.
Yeah.
Right? And you're shouting above all that noise so you can get heard. That's why my voice is loud.
You know that place in London, Speaker's Corner?
Yeah, I know it very well, yeah.
I'd love to see you holding court in London, telling the world the world's flat. That would be fucking classic.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah, but I wanted to say, Mary had a little lamb, but it's now for now. For now, it's for me time to go. It was fun talking to you, and I will see you the next show.
Okay. Thanks, Artez. Thank you very much, Artez.
Thanks, Artez.
Thanks for your input. Right, my machine is working proper. Wait.
Oh, man. Well, I'm past the itchy stage with my beard now. That's kind of nice. Not going insane every fucking...
I'm ready to get rid of it.
Oh, yeah?
I've had a beard for 12 years.
Yeah, try it, man. It's good to mix it up.
I'm going to just probably go back down.
Because as of it's 10:08 here in Vancouver, I need to wake them up by 10:10. How do I do that? I need to go above what everybody else is doing for street activism. What do I do right now? How do I do it? Do I need to go directly to Flatty Word to be number one in activism? I don't want to be number one in activism. I just want to do. How do I get to the top level in order to create enough activism for all these zombies to wake up? This is not a competition. I know there's a lot of people who do think it's a competition because they're trying to make a few dollars doing this, or you know, maybe the side part of the their activism. They have like maybe some books out making a few $100,000 a year, or whatever they're doing. They got their calendars, they got their whatever they're doing. Where's the next school?
I want to ask about the reason I brought up the statues in Washington, D.C.
Because you wanted to trigger me, Jesse.
Right now in Washington, D.C., the city council wants to put up a statue of the late former mayor of Marion Barry, who was twice convicted, I believe twice, convicted of crack cocaine. He was a crackhead. Why would black people want to walk down the road and see a crackhead statue? Can you imagine walking down the road there in Washington, D.C., your children are with you, and your son says, "Daddy, who is that black man on the statue?" And you say, "That's a crackhead."
Why do you keep referring to him in such a derogatory way, bro?
Because the man was a convicted crackhead. But
you
yet,
really want to have that argument, Jesse?
But
that
yet,
people
good
who fought
men
against the country are more deserving of a statue than a man who was elected by the people in this country. I think the people by this country should. I think Marion Barry is a better representation, Frank.
A crackhead. At least those no.
Like I said, I look at drug abuse as a sickness, brother. I look at drug abuse as a sickness.
Those men who were fighting back then, drug abuse is not a sickness.
You said drug user. That drug not drug seller,
Listen,
not drug dealer.
At
drug
least the
user.
Confederate men were decent men. A crackhead is not a decent man. So
And
you
he also,
don't have any problem with taking down the statues and the monuments and replacing them with a crackhead.
no, I think all monuments, I think all monuments
You
are a
said
waste
no.
of time. I think all monuments are a waste of time, Jesse.
I mentioned Marion Barry. He was caught smoking crack. Radical Islam terrorism. How do you feel about that?
Radical Islam terror. First of all, I feel very, very uncomfortable with the terminology of radical Islam.
But they're doing it based on what they've been taught within that.
And they're not doing it based on the teachings
religion.
of Islam. No, they're not.
Where did they get this idea of beheading and killing homosexuals and killing the infidels?
From a very perverse, it's not a radical Islam. It's a very perverse understanding of Islam.
If that's true, why don't we see, in a public way, Muslims out protesting?
Because what you want us to take to the streets
Yes.
and say that we stand against this stuff?
Yes.
Bishop,
The
finish your point.
KKK was an
Well, okay.
evil organization, just like Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter is a far-left, liberal, radical, agitative organization founded by a bunch of black lesbians and homosexuals and
Mr. Peterson,
radical
I suggest you give...
Okay, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Mr. Peterson, you're now descending into extremely unpleasant and frankly vile rhetoric. I don't know why you think this is appropriate to say this on national television, but what you just said is completely unacceptable.
She said, or think it. Not only can I not say it, I can't even think it. They're called thought police or something, right? This is what happens when you allow the children of the lie to take over. Racism does not exist, and it never existed. There was a lie made up by the children of the lie. And by this point, this woman that I was debating, black woman, that I was debating, her mouth fell open. She's sitting there looking like she was losing it. And I mentioned that I grew up on a plantation under the Jim Crow laws and that blacks have been lied to. Blacks did better back then when it came to morality and family and not blaming and whining. They didn't have black leaders. And so they brought this woman in because by this time Piers Morgan, Susanna, and this woman were having a hissy fit. Just literally having a hissy fit. Apparently Oprah Winfrey gave what the liberals will call a presidential speech last night at this so-called, some kind of stupid award they had. Something called the Golden Globe Award. These elitist so-called celebrities are always entertaining themselves, worshiping themselves, making themselves feel better because they're just low-life kind of people. And so they need constant attention so that they can feel better about being wrong. I wish Oprah would run for president. Oprah Winfrey is the woman who said that racism will not end until all older white people are dead. Racism won't end until all the old white people are dead. That's Oprah. That's what, looking at that, that's what hell looked like. You're looking right into hell. How come, not all, but most black people always trying to preach? Why? Why are they always trying to preach? Oprah's standing there like she's preaching. You so hot to beat me. You remember that? All my life, I've been beat by men. I ain't gonna take it no more. It's a way of seducing people. It gets you all riled up emotionally, and now you're all involved, and now you believe the lie. These same godless people that you're looking at, they support abortion at any point, most of them. They believe in so-called same-sex marriage. They hate God. They hate Christians. They don't like the order of the family. These are like no good people. Who want to listen to these people? And the men of this bunch are just weak and pathetic, girly men. They're not worth a dime. I would love for Oprah to run for president. I really would. Donald Trump would. The great white hope would blow her out of the water before she can open her mouth.
But their time is up.
But their time is up. Doesn't that sound like the devil?
For too long, women have not been heard or believed if they dared to speak their truth to the power of those men.
Lord have mercy. But they dared speak their truth. What is that? The power of the men. What is that? But their time is up. Does that sound like Satan? That doesn't sound good. Did the NFL...
Which is not true. There is racism. They're absolutely and unequivocally, without question, racism.
It's not. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Yes, there is.
Did the NFL bring this up on Colin Kaepernick, or did he bring it up on himself?
No, he didn't bring it upon himself.
So did the NFL...
No, he chose to be the one, just like Ali. If you look at Ali, Ali spoke out against, the Vietnam War. And because of that, it hindered him when it came to...
You talk about Muhammad Ali?
Muhammad Ali.
Oh, man.
Okay.
He was a pitiful person.
Okay,
he was also the same coward that did very well in this country, but yet when it was time...
Very well. He worked hard.
When it was time to go and stand for the country, he refused to go to the military.
No, the military...
So he joined the Nation of Islam and pretended to be a Muslim in order to not serve in the military.
He wasn't a coward.
But let me go back.
That's not true.
No, I write about him in my book.
Okay, but he wasn't a coward.
Muhammad Ali.
Wow.
Muhammad Ali at the time, Cassius Clay. Well, I think what's his name?
Cassius Clay.
Yeah, something dumb like that. Let me go back to.
That's wrong. You're wrong.
Let me go back to Colin Kaepernick. Did the NFL force him to kneel and turn his back on the flag and on the country?
He wasn't pretending to the flag. You keep saying that.
Let me finish the question.
No, let me say
something. Let me finish the question, then I'll let you respond.
You can't keep talking a narrative that doesn't start off with the truth.
No.
It wasn't about the flag. It wasn't about the military.
Yes, it was.
So, no, it wasn't about the flag.
He refused to stand for the national anthem.
It's not disrespecting the flag because people disrespect the flag all the time.
Does that make it right?
Wear underwear with the flag on it. So if I have my testicles wrapped around the flag, is not disrespecting? You're not supposed to even do anything like that.
So just to get it right, there are white supremacists, and there are some of them are mixed with white Jews who are white supremacists. And you said there are black Jews, but no black Jews are white supremacists.
What I'm saying,
are you saying that?
Because I don't know, you're kind of muddling all of these definitions, and I want to make it very clear. White supremacy transcends religion. You can't equate race and religion and make it the same thing. Race and religion are two different things.
But according to you, no blacks are a part of the white supremacist movement.
Well, they're black collaborators. They're black collaborators with white supremacy, but they can't be white supremacists themselves. They're still victims of white supremacy.
Amazing.
Yeah.
What is it like being a man and spending a lifetime looking at white people and complaining about them and trying to get them to let you be a supremacist or a real man? I can't imagine living a lifetime thinking that some other man, whether he's white, black, Jewish, whatever it might be, Asian, is holding me back in life. As a man yourself, what does that feel like?
Well, I don't complain to the white supremacists. All of my messages are for the victims of white supremacy.
Right, but your whole thing is about the white man.
The white supremacists, not the white man, the white supremacists.
Right, it's still about men. They are white men.
No, the white supremacists, because you have white female supremacists too.
So men and women, white.
No, white supremacists.
Right.
Let's be very clear.
What does it feel like to be a man who believe that these people are holding you back?
Right.
And so you spend a whole lifetime building your life around them, trying to stop them, and they're moving on with life and doing what they do anyway.
Right.
What does that feel like?
What do you mean, what does it feel like? I feel like a victim of white supremacy.
So you feel like a victim?
I'm a victim. I'm a victim of white supremacy. Yeah.
And so are they holding you back financially?
Holding me back financially? Well, they can.
Are they?
They can.
Are they?
They can.
No, but are they?
They can.
Well, I didn't ask you if they could.
Can. If I get too powerful, yeah, they'll chop my stuff down just like they chop everybody else's stuff down. For example,
let me ask, I want to stay with that. I'll come back to that. No.
I want to unpack that about that whole money thing.
Are they holding you back?
Because you can make a lot of money. They'll do the Bill Cosby thing. They can put all types of crazy charges on you. They can deplete your money. So,
are they holding you back financially?
What do you mean, are they holding me back? I'm in a prison called white supremacy that's global. So we're allowed, certain black people are allowed to have certain resources, but they know they can take it back.
Are they holding Tariq Nasheed back financially?
I'm in a system where they can hold me back.
But right now they're not holding you back.
Well, they can hold me back.
Are they holding you back?
Define holding me back.
You don't know are they holding you back from being successful in your life?
Well, I'm successful because I understand white supremacy, and I'm successful as far as I can be, as much as I can be, because they can stop my success at the drop of a hat.
Do you believe in good and evil?
Of course.
You believe there's good and there's evil?
Of course.
And what do you
and
believe?
You're good the way you hustle.
What do you believe about good and evil?
That's a very empty question. I don't even know what that means.
Okay.
What I believe about good and evil?
Let me ask you this.
What do I believe about good and evil? What does that mean?
You said that you are a minister, right?
Yes, but
and do you represent God?
You're just asking me random questions with no context in them.
More and more men are calling themselves feminists, and they seem to be supporting that. President Obama, the first so-called black president, called himself the first feminist president. And wasn't he such a failure? He was a true failure. And I have with me Gregory Jackson, better known as Onision, a popular YouTuber and music producer known for comedy and dramatic videos, personal stories, and cultural commentary. Onision, should I call you Onision or Gregory?
You do you. It's either way.
Okay, welcome to the show, sir. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for inviting me.
So you call yourself a feminist, is that true?
No.
Oh, you do not? So just to clear it up, I'm black, I'm a little slow. So do you call yourself a feminist? Yes or no?
Technically, I fit the definition of both an egalitarian and a feminist.
Amazing. And why is that? Why would a man become a feminist?
Let me ask you this. Why wouldn't a man become a feminist?
Because it's a woman's thing, and men and women are different. And so I don't know why a man wants to get rid of his masculinity to become a feminist.
Can you tell me where it says that feminism emasculates men?
I mean, look around you. That's what we've been dealing with for the last 60 years or so. Feminists turning men into women, and it's amazing. So why do you call yourself a feminist? Why would you deny your masculinity to become a feminist, knowing that you are a male? What's the purpose?
Where does it say that a feminist...
Can you answer that for me?
What is the purpose of being a feminist?
Yeah, since you're a male, why not become masculine rather than going the other way?
That's not what feminism is.
What is it?
Feminism is merely looking at issues where women are treated unequally, and it's making them equal.
But how about where men are treated unequally?
Sure, yeah, that's where egalitarianism comes in. It focuses on both issues and doesn't treat one as if it's a bigger priority than the other, even though one may be a bigger priority. Depends on who you ask.
Masculinity should be the bigger priority today, don't you agree? The slut walk, you know who Amber Rose is?
Refresh me.
She is a godless liberal who is trying to take the shame out of women being sluts. And so they had a slut walk in Los Angeles about 3 weeks ago now, give or take. And
must have been very fun to watch.
It was disgusting. So what do you think about women trying to take the shame out of being, well, some women, the liberal women, trying to take the shame out of being sluts?
Well, if you could give me a real disadvantage that's consistent with somebody being, by definition, a slut, we might be able to actually talk about slut validation shaming and that.
And so let me ask, should they take the shame out of being sluts?
If it increases the chance of unwanted pregnancy and disease, then there's a reason to feel like that's not the best thing.
Amazing. Men who were raised by good fathers are mentally and emotionally strong. And so when they go through challenges and issues of life, they overcome them rather than succumbing to them. The issues taking over their lives and causing them to become depressed.
So are you saying that people with good fathers never get depressed?
Right.
That's interesting. I'd like to see anything backing that up.
You're looking at one now. Have you forgiven your father as well?
No, absolutely not.
And will you ever forgive him?
No. No.
But if you don't, you're never going to have peace in your life.
I have peace with not forgiving.
No, it's impossible to have peace unless you forgive. So do you still deal with depression?
Wait, do you forgive Hitler then?
Yeah.
So I could quote you on you saying, I forgive Hitler.
I hold no resentment or anger to anyone.
Well, I do not forgive Hitler.
But you're never going to be happy unless you forgive your father.
That's your opinion.
No, it's a fact. It's not an opinion.
Are you a psychologist, or you went to college for that major?
No, you can't trust those people who go to college. They are as dumb as a doorknob.
Okay.
But I am a pastor, so I deal with this kind of stuff all the time.
Oh, well, that's why you would say that college people are dumb as a doorknob.
They are. They only give you, they hook you, take your money, and then they send you over to a doctor to give you drugs.
What about people who go to college for Christian studies?
That's dumb too.
Really?
Oh yeah. Because if God called a man to be a pastor or reverend or whatever, he also teaches them and gives them what they need to say and do. No human being can give that to you. Only dummies go to school to, only those who have not been called by God go to school to learn what God will have you do. Those people don't know.
Are you saying that if you never encountered the Bible, you would automatically know the teachings of the Bible?
Right on. Wow. Because it's written in your heart.
That seems impossible.
When you were a child, you knew the truth, but because of your trauma, the trauma of your parents, you forgot that truth because you returned away from it. I want to ask you about No. A transgender is a man or a woman who feel like the opposite of what they are. They don't have to have the surgery.
No, you don't know the terminology.
Yes, I do. I'm telling you. A transgender person is a man who feel like a woman or a woman who feel like a man. They don't have to have the surgery. Some of them go and have the surgery, and now they're starting to regret it. And they want their body parts back, but somebody dumped them in the trash and they can't find them. I know you don't believe there is a God. Do you believe there is a Satan?
Yes, of course there's a Satan.
So why do you believe there's a Satan but not a God?
Because Satan is real. Evil is real.
But good is not?
No.
Good is not real?
No.
But evil is real?
Correct.
And are you a good man or an evil man?
I'm a good man.
But how are you good then?
I get my goodness from Satan.
But you just said Satan is evil.
Okay.
And I want you to watch how these black Democrats treat Diamond and Silk as though Diamond and Silk work for them. They don't act as though they're working for Diamond and Silk. And this government has forgotten that they are our employees. If we didn't pay taxes, they would be on the soup line. But they're treating these women horribly. And I want you to put in your mind, it's black on black. And so when black people come up with this lie that they all love one another, we all bros, and like when they shake hands and do all that crap, all that crap. It's all lies. It's all fake. Have you met the National Organization of Women Who Hate Men?
Yeah, some of them do, but that's not...
Hardcore lesbians. I don't have an afro. I have an Amerifro. One thing about evil, one thing about anger, which is evil, it will destroy you, your family, the cat, the dog, the grass, the house, the paint on the house, and everything else around. Anger loves no one.
You know, you look at the people that he was competing with, low energy,
Yeah.
you know, Jeb Bush and all these people.
No
like,
balls.
Do you think we need to ban guns? I definitely think we need to ban guns after these numerous shootings that have happened. I think it's ridiculous. It's absolutely absurd.
So if someone breaks into your house, you're sleeping, and you don't have a gun, and they do, how would you protect yourself and your family?
If they had a gun and I didn't?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you're right. You got me there.
You're late.
Yes, I am.
Wow. I noticed that all my black guests are late most of the time. Why is that?
Okay. It's a lot of traffic in Los Angeles.
I know, but you leave on time for a radio show. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm talking to you about it because I noticed that, you know, when we have Hispanics come in or whites or any other race, they're on time. Matter of fact, they're waiting in the lobby.
Okay.
But every time we invite black people to come, they're late.
Well,
Is that like a curse on black people or something?
I don't think it's a
I know
curse.
they call it CP time as well. Is it a curse or what is, or lack of respect or what is it? Tell me what, you're a smart lady, I can tell by looking at you.
Well, you're a smart man. I can tell by looking at you.
No, I'm black and slow. But what is that? Is it a curse on black people?
I thought we were supposed to be talking about the war on poverty.
No, we are, but you're late and I don't understand it.
Okay, well, I'm sorry that I'm late, and
It's not a curse though?
I don't think so.
All right.
Why would it be a curse?
Because it happens so often. And
Well, the reason why I was late was because of my editor friend, Randall.
Blame it on the traffic and blame it on Randall. Poor Randall.
Yeah.
Do you believe it's spiritual or physical?
I really don't want to get into this.
You know why? Because you don't want to face the truth.
Yeah, okay. Whatever you say.
You want to believe in fake racism, but yet call yourself a Christian when in reality you're just a Christian in namesake, but you're not a doer of the word.
Yeah, you don't know anything about me.
I do know you can't believe this lie and believe in God.
Do you read? That's the thing that I'm worried about, because if you read, you wouldn't come across as ignorant as you do.
Oh, and so I know that racism doesn't exist. You believe the illusion of racism existed, and I'm the ignorant one. Amazing. Hello? What are you saying?
What I'm saying is that all of us, no matter what we do, no matter who we are, we're raised in the United States, which the United States is a wholly, fundamentally from its founding, racism's been part of our country. And so to say that...
you
to
are
say
a
that
racist?
No, I'm not. I'm an anti-racist. I'm an active anti-racist.
But you say you have something in you against black people.
Yeah, we all do.
What do you have against black people?
Nothing that I could ever put my finger on. But again, I think
Well,
it's.
how do you
I think
know
I'm
you
being
have
pretty.
something?
I think I'm being pretty honest with my answer here.
How do you
and
know you have it then if you can't put your finger on it?
Because I think it exists in all of us. I think it's what growing up in America is. It's we are raised with
All
these
of
things.
us, meaning all the white people, Jewish people, or black people?
Do I think black people can be racist? No. I think
You don't
racism.
think black people can be
not
racist?
Can they be prejudiced and biased? Yes.
So
but
all
racism,
other races can be racist except black people.
No. Racism is about power. And you need to have power in the society in order to be racist, because racism means you are actually...
One last thing then about that. Is Obama and Oprah and Bill Cosby, are those people racist? They have power.
Yeah, not that I'm aware of.
But they have power. You say
And
you have to
can
have
they-
power. Are they racist?
No, because honestly, the black community in America, even if the
But you just said
president
if you can't be-
president is black, that doesn't mean that we don't have racism in our country.
So why?
And that doesn't mean that there can't be racism against black people.
You said that you can't be a racist if you don't have power,
Right.
and
Yeah,
black
yeah.
people don't have power. I named you a few
and
black
even-
people with power,
That is not,
and you said
but
they
that's not
can't, they're
social
not
power,
racist.
Jesse, the president. You think the president actually makes most of the decisions? Who funds his campaign? Who got him elected? I mean, yes, he's a black president. He's the first black president.
wanna ask
and
this.
Oprah is a very wealthy individual. But to say that they have the same kind of social power that the ruling white class of America
Sure.
has, that's just
Okay,
not
so
true.
give me just a quick yes or no. Obama, Oprah,
Yeah,
Bill
yeah.
Cosby, and all those black folks with money and power are not racist. They can't be racist.
No, I don't think they're racist. I think, can they be prejudiced and biased? Yes.
But they can't be racist, right?
They can't impose
Give me
a
a yes or
policy
no.
of discrimination.
No, give me a yes or
they,
no.
no, they can't be racist.
So, but in order to be a racist, you got to have power.
You have to have real power.
And
You have to
Obama doesn't have real power.
No. I mean, I'm sorry.
Does Eric Holder, the Attorney General, have real power?
I think insofar as he goes along with what the establishment wants, then yes. But if he steps out of line, he gets reined back in.
The Attorney General of the United States of America does not have power.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes or no
Do
first?
you think?
Yes or no because of time?
No,
Okay.
I don't.
All right. Amazing. Did you vote for President Trump?
Nah, fuck Trump.
Fuck Trump, man.
Fuck Donald Trump.
He taking our state into a hellhole.
By doing how?
Because how he taking all the free money and stuff, man.
He's taking the free money?
Yeah,
He taking all our dough, man.
Taking all the
I
dough,
needed
just
some,
doing
too.
dumb shit.
What free money is he taking?
Damn, you asking too much
shit. All the motherfucking free money. Fuck Donald Trump, though.
Bringing back God's order of God in Christ, Christ in man, man over woman, woman over children. It wasn't broken like that in the good old days when boys were boys and men were men. I want the good old days back. Black people respected God. They got married. They had children under the umbrella of marriage. Most did. Abortion was unheard of. Hating the white man, unheard of. Blaming someone else, grown men blaming someone else, unheard of. And now the black men wimp and whine just like a woman. And it's just not manly.
I feel like a victim of white supremacy.
So you feel like a victim?
I'm a victim. I'm a victim of white supremacy.
Blaming, poor me, it's ridiculous. It really is.
He's got Jesse Lee Peterson on there. And the Fox News tweet that they made for this one says, not all, but most black Americans are suffering, not due to racism, but the destruction of the family and a lack of moral character.
What?
Yeah, Fox News made that tweet, and
Oh my God.
this was on the 3rd. This was on the 3rd of July. So yeah, just wait until you hear Jesse Lee Peterson, the personification of white privilege in a black guy.
Black Americans are suffering not due to racism, but the destruction of the family and the lack of moral character. It's about that. And if we dealt with the family issue and the lack of character, black Americans' lives would change overnight.
Yeah, Fox News made that tweet, and
Oh my God.
this was on the 3rd. This was on the 3rd of July.
I'm losing my voice, but I think it's a little better today. Even one of my employees was telling me that he woke up this morning, he has the same stretchy, issy, swirl-like throat on both sides. So it might be an illegal alien's disease. Faye, first let me ask, is it true or false what I'm saying?
Go ahead.
Turn on.
Faye, what's wrong with you? Turn your radio off, the TV off, or down. What's wrong with her?
Go ahead, I'm listening to you.
See, affirmative action, listener.
Me personally, I don't see why you would let that go through.
So morally, I have a problem with that. You don't have a problem with that. The state of Alabama
Because
does not
I
have a
don't
problem with
believe
that.
it just because someone said
Oh, so
it.
you don't believe the accusers anyway?
I don't believe it until the proof is there.
No, so you don't believe them at all?
Just like if someone said that about you. But you're in the entertainment field. These women, liberal feminists, hate men.
Well, why does it have to be
and
liberal? Why can't it just be a regular person?
Because normal women don't do this. If someone all of a sudden accuses you, you've been with a lot of women.
How do
and
you know this? You
I
can't
can
make
see it
generalizations.
all over you.
See, that's that judgment. You see that? That's that judgment right there.
Have you
from
been
them.
with a lot of women?
I've been with a few.
Have you been with a lot of women?
I've been with a few.
Have you been with a lot of women?
I've been with a few.
It's a few, a lot. He cried tears of joy for his mother when she came out as a lesbian. Lesbian. That's not logical. And who cried? This man is a liar. He's a miserable liar.
We see young black men being killed in the streets at the hands of not only each other but law enforcement, and they're always under suspicious circumstances, and there never seems to be adjudication or justice for those who are unarmed and are victims of this. And I think if Dr. King were here, he'd be on the front lines with Black Lives Matter and other organizations, and he'd be challenging this government and this nation to honor the civil rights that he fought for and his generation died for, literally.
Amazing. So this is a hypocrite. This is a liar. This is a daughter of the lie. So Martin Luther King Jr. would be marching with a far-left, liberal, radical, agitative, evil organization like Black Lives Matter that was founded by black radical lesbians, phony as a $8 bill. And the weak, pathetic, poor, pitiful excuse of a man, Obama reached over and kissed Big Mama, because had he not, she probably would have floated. This picture, now I don't know if it's real, it's too gross. Big Mama is at the game and she's like holding her arms up, yelling for the team, I guess. And under her arms look nasty. Hair, it looked gross. And then she's fat as a pig. She forgot to put her girdle on. And then this has to be Photoshop. She looks as though she's from the south side of Chicago. That's too nasty. I wonder if Big Mama paid Obama to marry her. She is fat as a pig. I told you Big Mama's eating all the ribs.
Sorry. Don't ever apologize for getting emotional. It just means you are that much closer to what's meaningful. I had a mother who told me constantly how special I was. She would say to me very often, "Mijo, my son, you are meant to do great things in this world. The world will know your name." And boy, did that light a fire underneath me. And my goal was to be a famous actor, then the first Polish Mexican American president of the United States, and then I was going to end racism. I had this cheerleader. I had this woman, my mom, constantly would dust me off, get rid of my self-doubt, and push me back out there.
Welcome to the Fallen State. I'm Jesse Lee Peterson. Today I'm joined by some accomplished entertainers. I have with me Joe Hernandez Kolsky. He is an Emmy Award-winning and two-time HBO Death Poet. Yep. Thank you for coming, man.
My pleasure.
Wow, this is going to be fun. I can tell already. When you were growing up, were you attacked by the Mexicans for being mixed?
No, never.
Yes.
We both have had very interesting experiences. Like my high school experience, I went to a predominantly black high school in Chicago. I mean, it was the same high school that Michelle Obama went to.
What is a man?
What is a man? That's quite a...
Well, I think what is the X chromosome?
Other than the physical parts of a man, what is a man?
I don't think there is one single definition. I think there are 4.5 billion different men in this country, and they all have their own definition.
Are you a man?
Absolutely.
You are a man, so what is a man?
So my definition is I grew up being the best friend of the girls. Like I was always like, I just hung out with girls. And like from the age of 10, when all the boys were roughhousing outside and all the girls were inside dancing on the dance floor, I was like, that's where I want to be.
Wow.
And so, you know, I grew
Amazing.
Well, what?
Amazing. Do you identify more with the female rather than the male?
Well, it's interesting. I think I've gone through phases in my life where I was the one boy in the dance class, I was the one boy in the yoga class. I feel different.
What caused you to become so emotional?
So I was always taught that it's never wrong to cry. And
Who taught you that?
My mom and my
Really?
dad, yeah.
Did your father know that your mother was teaching you to be emotional and play with
Sure.
and dance with the girls?
Yeah, because I would do my little footloose dance move, and they just
They go
fell in love with me.
crazy.
Joshua,
Yeah.
other than the physical part of the male, what is a man?
Well, I mean, look, gender's a construct, right? Gender is a construct that was created to create power. And Joe can have a feeling that creates an emotion in him, and he can express that emotion. And I know that it's my job as his partner, as working with Joe, to go, all right, that's how my friend feels. He's expressing his emotion. But also, I know that I can't let that experience affect me to where I become irrational. So there's space for emotion.
So do you tell Joe to cut it out?
Not in those
Like,
words.
cut out all that mess.
We're
Act
both-
like a man.
Well, we've learned how to accept that we're both
Man up.
we're both very passionate about what we believe in.
Right.
And so when we get into the creative writing room, we both have opinions, and we really like we hash it out, which is I think a pretty amazing. I think it's pretty powerful what we do. The fact that we've dedicated our lives to navigating what's going on inside of us.
You said that gender is a construct.
Yeah.
What do you mean by construct?
Construct meaning that it is man-made, meaning that there's no
Man-made?
scientific proof that it exists, except for the rehearsal of it in our society.
Is your father, Joshua, is your
Yeah.
father an emotional man?
My father is a man who definitely has access to his feelings, if that's what you're asking me.
So does that mean yes, he is an emotional man?
Let me ask, have you seen the movie Inside Out?
No.
Yeah, he would.
So let me ask you, is your father
Because
an
when that
emotional-
rocket went up, I just want to know if a tear came out of your eye. That's all I want to know.
Have you seen Bambi? No. You ever seen Bambi?
No.
Have you ever seen a cartoon movie before in your life?
Popeye the Sailor Man.
Well, that's where you're missing a lot of art out there.
But I'm just not into
Or like
cartoons
Finding
like
Nemo,
that.
when the
But-
little tortoise falls off, and then you're worried that it's not going to make it back.
Right. Why is it that I'm like stunned listening to you guys right now?
Yeah.
About it's okay for men to be emotional.
Yeah.
Growing up,
Yeah.
I never thought I would see the day when I would hear men agreeing to become like a woman.
Well, look,
rather
again,
than to be
as a black
But Let
man,
me ask this.
yeah,
Let me ask this.
yeah.
Why is it that in society today there are people who are trying to destroy masculinity, but not destroy women?
Well,
They're trying to turn men into women, but not women into
Let's
men.
go to that question.
Why
because
is that?
It's a great question.
First of all, have you noticed that?
I think I understand what you're saying,
So
but
you
I,
have noticed?
I disagree with the way you're
But
phrasing
you
it.
notice this happening, right?
I notice what's happening is people are breaking down the construct. And so, you look at
But
slavery.
why are they turning men into girls?
Well, you look at slavery, and I don't know who they is, but you look at slavery.
The man-hated feminists and weak men and
feminists
and the
are just-
media and stuff like that.
So look,
why are they turning?
let's go
Why
back
are they
to-
turning men into girls, and why are men accepting it?
Let's
I
go-
would never want to be a girl.
Right. Well, you're missing out.
Why?
But let me.
What am I
so,
missing? I mean, all that emotion and stuff is not good.
well, women are awesome, but I also feel like
Awesome?
awesome.
In what way?
How are women
How are
awesome?
women awesome?
Yeah.
If you have to ask that
Oh.
question,
So tell
I don't
me.
know what else to tell you.
How are they awesome?
How are women awesome? I mean,
we can first of all talk about.
Let me
So
just,
so if we have a society of nothing but dudes, does that
Oh.
sound like a society you want to live in?
how are women awesome?
Well, that's the answer to your question.
That doesn't answer my question.
It does because
No.
if by nature.
Are you saying they are awesome simply because they're on Earth and they're women?
That's one
We'll
of the
just
ways.
start there,
that-
sure.
Yeah, like
Really?
the fact that they
That's all it
exist
takes
is
for a woman?
amazing. Yeah, a woman.
Have
doesn't
you
have
ever
to,
seen? Well, no, I'm
A
not
woman doesn't
gonna go
have to
down there.
do much
But you
to
didn't
be
tell me,
awesome.
yeah, how
just
is she
by
awesome?
well, by the fact that she gets to exist and express, just by that is an amazing thing.
I think, but I do think that there's
You're not-
something to
you're
be
not saying anything.
But I think in the end, we are 7 billion individuals. regardless of male or female. And when you put them under pressure, we know the old metaphor of you take a piece of coal and you put enough pressure on it, you have a diamond. I think that's very important.
Are you saying that women don't buckle under pressure?
I think women have had to overcome a lot.
Do they buckle under pressure?
No.
I think people buckle.
No,
under pressure.
do.
I think some people have difficulties.
Absolutely not true.
You don't think men buckle under pressure?
I think
Weak men do.
Weak
I think-
Emotional men do.
I think
but
men-
not real men.
No, I think real
Real
men.
men
in your
overcome the pressure. Weak men buckle under pressure like a woman would do.
No, but I think that's the same can be said for women, for strong women and weak women. And I think we all are overcoming our different.
Do you believe women are awesome as well?
Absolutely.
And what's awesome about them?
In my life has been radically improved by every woman I've ever had come into my life.
That's so sad.
How is that
Why is
sad?
that sad?
That's like just sad.
Okay, so my mother is an
What has
educator.
happened to manhood?
I mean,
Are you just like your mother?